charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. Ow! Every number one on the orange owl. Every number one for 83 in the press. Every number one on the orange charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. Ow! Every number one on the orange charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. And 83 in the press. Wow! Yowza!
Hello, I'm Ben.
Hello, I'm Tom.
And you're listening to Sunglasses at Night podcast. The year is 2018.
It sure is. This is the podcast where we put on our time Ray-Bans and travel back through history via the lens of the ARIA charts, Australian Recording Industry Association charts, and look at what the number ones were for a particular year, and in this case being 2018. And if you want to follow along, follow the YouTube link in the notes at the bottom, and you can see the videos.
All kinds of great music videos to go along with all kinds of great songs for this year. It's only 5 years ago, Tom, so it's very, very recent. But I'd forgotten a lot of these songs. Had you, or I hadn't, or some of them I'd not heard before?
There were a couple that I hadn't heard, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm not paying a lot of attention to the number ones typically, but you know, some of these, we had a lot of big songs this year, and some of them are just impossible to avoid. So, you know,
absolutely. Now, we've mentioned this before. The ARIA charts, how the number ones are determined, that has changed over time.
Yep.
Yes. So, in the early days, we were just looking at physical 7 inches and cassettes, and then obviously the CD single era, digital download era, streaming era. So, in 2018. Step back a bit. 2014, streaming data was included in the ARIA singles charts for the first time, so 2014. And in 2018, so the year we're looking at now, ARIA changed the methodology to give greater emphasis to paid subscription streams over supported streams, ad-supported. So therefore, we shouldn't have any trash songs this year, because this isn't just anyone listening to Spotify with absolutely no knowledge of music. This is people that have paid the money for Spotify. They want to be there. They want to listen to the songs. So I think we can get a higher caliber of music as a result of that, Tom. Agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the only logical thing.
What they've done, it used to be 1-to-1. So you had a free Spotify or a free Apple Music. You paid for it. Those streams are worth 1-to-1. Now they've said if you're paying for it, we're going to rank that a bit higher. So let's see what happens. But I'm confident, Tom. I'm confident it's going to be gold.
Yes,
all kinds of stuff. So that's that in terms of the actual music and how they're calculating these charts. But 2018 in general, what was going on? What can you tell me?
Oh, just a refresher for 5 years ago. 2018 Winter Olympics were held in Pyeongchang, South Korea. Australia got 3 medals, all of which were for freestyle skiing and snowboarding. When you put that alongside our skating and BMX medals in Tokyo, I think it's pretty clear that the future of Australian Olympic competition is extreme sports.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, more and more parents are struggling to understand why their kids should be getting knocked out playing rugby or boxing. Those same kids could be out racking up TBIs, doing sick 1080 backside squirrel grabs and winning gold for Australia. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly right, for sure. I mean, back in the day, you used to have to spend your time practicing just relentlessly for boring sports, you know, like javelin. That's not exciting. No one, you're not getting it. Whereas with the skateboarding, it's a lot more fun. You can get chicks.
That's
you can blast, you know, just super cool punk songs like 5 Seconds of Summer on your boombox while at the skate ramp. And it just sounds like a lot more fun, I think.
That's right. Why let another child traumatise themselves by knocking out your child when they could simply do it on a concrete piece of paving outside of Bunnings Furniture Warehouse?
For sure. And unlike if you fail in, you know, tennis or something, no one cares. But if you fail in skateboarding or BMX and your friends have filmed it, you can release it as like a hilarious video.
Exactly.
VHS with
viral success.
Exactly right. Exactly. So yeah, I think kids should definitely get more into the extreme sports.
China's government approved a constitutional change that removed term limits for its leaders.
That's good.
Granting Winnie the Pooh the status of president for life, including an unlimited supply of honey, his own treehouse, and an official decree that it's now acceptable for political figures to be nude from the waist down in public.
That's good.
So that was good. Speaking of animals with their asses hanging out, Donald Trump met with Kim Jong-un, and the two dictators did what dictators always do when they meet each other: lie to each other, then walk away thinking that A, the other professional liar definitely didn't assume I was lying to them,
Yep.
and B, there's no way that the other professional liar would have dared lie to me because I'm too cool. Either way, North Korea held off testing nukes for the usual 48-hour period, and Dennis Rodman suddenly looked like a fucking elder statesman of international democracy.
That's what, I mean, when you look at that, do you think Kim Jong-un was like meeting with Donald Trump, this is a step down from my previous sort of Rodman? I think I would have thought so. In the intellect stakes, I would have assumed that, Dennis Rodman would have brought a lot more to the table, but
That's
I could be
right.
wrong.
I sometimes wonder that with Putin when, does he look at world leaders and rank them against Steven Seagal, in terms of, hair quality, looking like a Chinese restaurant.
Absolutely.
Number of indentured Asian underage servants that he's got in his retinue, and
Seagal is he vice president of Russia these days?
Pretty much.
He's sort of,
I think he's like a general in the army in America. So in music, Beyonce was the first black woman to headline Coachella, then put out a massive album with Jay-Z, then went on a massive tour with him, which was a bit weird given that her last album, Lemonade, was written from the perspective of a woman who's furious at her husband for banging skanks.
Yeah.
But, who amongst us hasn't forgiven a partner when there were staggering financial rewards on offer?
Correct. Exactly.
Yes. And speaking of RESPECT, Aretha Franklin passed away at 76 from pancreatic cancer, which I got to admit is younger than I thought she actually would have been. So, she was still touring and planning albums. Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries also passed away, proving tragically that it is possible to drown in a bathtub, provided that you drink the entire minibar first.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, definitely kill yourself afterward, or else you'll get a bill for $47,000.
Yeah, it's that.
So
yes,
maybe
definitely.
she just realised, I've crossed that line, and went, I might as well, top myself now.
That bill would be...
I ate both of those giant Kit Kats. There's no way I'm getting out of this hole.
She'd have to go back to touring again, I think, to sort of support that chocolate habit from a minibar for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the tunes.
50 Shades Free was my favourite film of the year, Tom.
Oh, sorry, I didn't talk about. Yeah. Oh, actually, I didn't have the top 10 this year, but we do have one giant old school movie song coming up later on.
We do have a movie song that wasn't from one of the 50 Shades of Grey films.
No,
so that's pretty good,
unusually, yes.
Cool. All right, Tom. 1st of Jan for 5 more weeks. It was Ed Sheeran with Perfect.
Yes.
So we don't have to talk about that. We did that last week.
Yes.
Do you have anything more to say about that, Ed?
No, I believe you described it as the number one wedding song among the acquired brain injury community, beating out his previous contender, Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, which he also wrote. So he's cornered the market in this area. So it
was a step up from Galway Girl, but anything is
true.
I dare say at that point.
So for the love of God, let's move on to something with a bit more musical.
First new song of the year, 5th of February for how many weeks? 11 weeks. Christ on a bike. It's Drake with God's Plan.
I mean, the obvious joke to make is that this song demonstrably proves God has no plan, or at least has terrible taste in music.
Yeah.
Either that, or Drake has made some Robert Johnson-style Crossroads-related deal with Satan, except instead of asking for musical talent in exchange for his soul, Drake asked for a chin beard trimmer that would never go blunt and immunity from child grooming charges, which has really led him to the top so far. Wasn't so interested in musical talent, but yeah.
No, look, let's just start out by saying the music video for this song, Tom, is the equivalent of some of those TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
I tipped the waitress $5,000. Let's see what her reaction is.
In his defence, I will say they were slightly less common 5 years ago. They've become such a total hack. If someone did this now, people would be like... Unless it was a piss take, it would just be like, what are you doing? But I mean, it's still...
It starts out with on-screen text saying the budget for this video was $996,631.90, and we gave it all away.
Yep.
So that's what they did. They gave the money away.
Yep.
And look, I think you are correct in the sense that maybe I'm being a bit cynical because these videos are just everywhere now of like, oh, I just went to Kmart and gave someone $500. Let's see what they're going to do.
Well, not money, just dumb shit like, oh, I kissed a stranger on the cheek and I'm a hot 25-year-old. You know, they'll be grateful. Or here's some flowers I found outside a servo. Do you want these? Oh, you know. And then they play some dog shit TikTok thing over the top. And, you know.
It is completely ridiculous. But yeah, look, so he did give the money to people that probably needed it more than just blowing the money on a music video. And I guess he got to have his cake and eat it too, because he gets a music video out of this at the end of the day because he's filming the giving away of the money. So he still has a music video for this song, giving the money away. So yeah, positive, I guess, on all fronts there. But I think probably just because I'd seen this shit play out so much over the last few years, I saw this and just went, oh, that's right. I forgot. I remember seeing this at the time.
No, I came home drunk at the time, and I saw this, and I was a bit emotional because I was a bit drunk, and I was like, oh, that's not such a bad video. But I know what you mean. Rewatching it now, I was like, yeah, it's like a 5-minute long version of one of those bloody TikTok things. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So directed by Karina Evans. As you say, it's mostly Drake wandering around the hood with not Toronto where he grew up. Just I think it's Miami and various places, handing out wads of cash in exchange for hugs, like one of those YouTube influencers. Except, of course, if he, gave me personally 50 grand in a rubber band, I would 100% feel differently and, probably burst into tears on camera in some highly embarrassing way, while professing to be a secret fan of Drake, Paul, or who the fuck it was. Unlike Drake, I'm trying to be honest here, Ben, but there's a lot of giant novelty check action. I did quite like there's one bit that I did quite like where he goes into Woolies with a megaphone and just says, "Hey everyone, get anything you want on me," to like everyone in the supermarket, and then you just see people like seeing how much they can physically stack up. I mean, that would be a good day. Tell you, if somebody walked into a supermarket here and it just said, I'd be going straight for the deli meat section because you know me, Ben. They don't call me Tom the impacted colon for nothing. What would your first stop be? Let's say it's not one that's got a bottle shop in it, so you can't go straight for the booze. Which section are you running straight to?
So I'm in the IGA and in walks, say, Kate Sobrano or something, or
Tones and I there with a megaphone.
Yeah, that's true. Tones and I with the megaphone in the once.
My video's got a $96 budget, and I'm going to blow it all in this shop.
I might not understand what she's saying because she uses the baby voice a lot.
Everything in this supermarket is free.
You'd be like going, what's that, Tones and I?
Everything in this.
But you'd figure it out. Yeah. Oh, look, I'd probably go for definitely a lot of novelty chips, I think.
Oh, yeah. See what the next flavour
just
combinations.
buy a lot of those. Certainly I'd do that. Probably try and get some of that high-quality coffee from the coffee aisle.
I was going to say lettuces, but they seem to have basically come back to normal now.
Yeah,
there was a time when you could have got very wealthy.
Probably about, and just a heap of lamb shoulders or something like that.
Yeah.
So go for the expensive stuff. But yeah, for sure. Look, but no, it would be quite good. And this is a better video clip than, say, was it last week or the week before when Pink had that sort of, I hate the president, so I'm going to get people to do interpretive dance to that. I mean,
at least some people's lives were positively affected by this. That's something.
Yeah, exactly. He does say, don't tell the record label. You mentioned
because he's sticking it to the man.
So, look, it's not like he gave the money away out of his own pocket, is it? The record label basically did this for him.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure out if it was Karina Evans or whose actual idea it was, like in the credits. Like it doesn't actually specify. But that's the smart person, whoever just went, we've got $1 million for a Drake video, what are we going to do with it? The person who just went, let's just give it all away on camera. That's our problem solved. Then we don't need a script, we don't need actors, we just walk around and that's clever, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely, because Justin Bieber actually copied this exact idea for a song that he had called Intentions.
Oh,
about
okay.
2 years after this.
Fucking oath.
So it's basically the same shit. So I think that's probably why I was annoyed with this Drake one a little bit, because I was like, isn't that been done like 50 times before?
Yeah.
Not realising that he was probably one of the first.
I'm sure a lot of those YouTube guys sort of got the same idea from this too.
But the Bieber one is real whack, because there's a girl and he shows up and she's like, yeah, I go to college, it's like a fair way away, I can't afford a car, so I have to get the bus. It takes me 2 hours on the bus each way to get to college, do my classes and then come home. So but look, I'm just trying to get my education for a better future. And then Bieber's like, well, look at this, and he gives her a car and she's like, whoa, how emotional was that? And then he goes and talks to some other kids and they're just like, oh, hey, nice to meet you, yeah, what do you kids do? And he's like, just go to school and stuff. And he's like, here's a backpack. So someone gets a car and someone gets a backpack. So I don't know. Just the backpack just seemed whack as hell when you're just like going, what? You just gave someone a car, and so no one wants that.
And I mean, a lot of this is clearly set up in the video.
Oh, yeah.
It sort of makes it look like he's walking down the street with giant wads of cash, handing them out. But obviously, he's told the people that he's going to give it to be sitting in this space, so he can walk up to them like it's a surprise and make them cry and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
But,
So I remember the music video because it obviously has that element to it. What about the song itself, Tom? What can you tell me about that?
God almighty.
Because it's what's the word I'm looking for? Fucking garbage? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's credited as written by Drake, Brock Corson, and producers Cardo, Young Exclusive, Boy Wonder, and Noah 40 Shabib, which I could have just made all that up. Although between the lines it sounds like Cardo just emailed Drake some crappy synth shit and Drake wanked on about what a tough guy from the hoodie is over the top, calling up Cardo and saying, quote, we got one, like that scene in Ghostbusters where someone finally reports a ghost sighting, except instead of Sigourney Weaver with a portal to hell in her fridge, it's the world's dullest Canadian with another melody-free, mumble-mouthed pop trap turd in a bag, that, like, waving it at you like a toddler is just, surprised you at a dinner party. I mean, seriously, this is just, I can't hack this stuff. It starts out as it means to go on with a basic synth beat under atonal, meaningless, non-rhyming words not wrapped through an auto-tune filter so heavy that they're indecipherable. Like, that's the first 10 seconds of the song, and it just goes from there. The rest of it's just that.
Yeah, look, the phrase God's plan,
that's
sort of
particularly irritating.
It's terrible. Like, when you're watching the Grammys or some awards show in America, and someone they get given the award, or even like someone, an American football player, the quarterback throws a winning touchdown, and then after the game, it's like this was all just part of God's plan. I mean, that gives me sort of cringe chills worse than a 40-year-old white real estate agent rapping on TikTok. Like, I sort of get this real feeling of like I don't know what it is.
Much like this video, it's just a sort of cringingly, like, it's an obvious humble brag.
Yeah.
The God's plan thing, it's like it's like 1 millimeter of humility on the top of a deep well of self-love and unearned, arrogance and confidence about, like the people thanking God at the football, as though they're so important that God has individually influenced, things in their favour as opposed to all the other people on the team and the other team and so forth. I mean...
Yeah, look, I don't know God personally, Tom, but I'm not really sure whether he would give a shit about who threw the winning touchdown in a game of football, probably. That was all, he's not real for a start, but he's not up there. Let's assume up in heaven is real, but it's not. But let's assume for a second that it is. He's not up there going, oh, fuck it, I better make sure Fred gets that winning touchdown.
Exactly.
Make sure he gets that.
And it's also not like Fred was playing the game in a God-fearing and humble way, like turning the other cheek the way Jesus did.
Yeah.
No, so you've just done 90 minutes of physical violence, pushing things as far as they can get into your favour by cheating as much as you possibly can and doing bullshit end zone dances every time you win any points, and now you're suddenly humble, much like this song where the title God's Plan covers up the rest of the lyrics about him just bragging about what a fucking tough guy he is, how much money he's got, how hard it was that he came up, etc.
Yeah, that's it. God's Plan is definitely Cardi B teaming up with David Guetta for a cover of fucking, a song by the Black Eyed Peas, I dare say. But look, I don't know, just for my mind, Drake being one of the biggest rappers in the world, it truly boggles the mind.
It
doesn't
does
it?
boggle the mind.
You do hear other people and go, I can see, you don't have to be the biggest Eminem fan in the world, but you can sort of see that he has the ability to craft a narrative and, obviously he shits on people, so you can like that or hate that.
He's doing something other people aren't necessarily doing,
So he's sort of, you might not like it, but you can see that, he does have the talent to be able to put something together. With Drake, I'm just like going, what the fuck is going on here? It's just like, down and yo, me and some bullshit.
It's all so overproduced and auto-tuned to fuck and just tedious, and his lyrics have nothing to say about anything.
Oh, it's
really.
the most played out shit. It's like things that are so overdone in hip-hop, but let's do it 1,000 times again, but make it a shittier version that no one wants to listen to.
I know what you mean. I feel like I'm not au fait enough with modern hip-hop to comment on this, to be able to judge, but I can't tell whether it's like he's just bad but people like him the way sometimes that happens, or whether he's sort of like lowest common denominator pop trap sort of stuff, and he's good at cashing in on the current trends. Like we've sort of watched him move through the various styles that were in at the moment, from like dance hall. Now he's doing this sort of trap stuff, and then like spoiler, but he his style just sort of keeps moving through whatever.
That's true.
So maybe he's just good at capitalising. That's what I mean. I'm not paying enough attention to this to be able to tell. But from an objective perspective, I cannot see the appeal of this at all.
No, it's straight garbage. I think that's fair enough. Do you have anything else to say? What about some lyrical highlights?
Lyrics. She say, "Do you love me?" I tell her only partly. I only love my bed and my mama. I'm sorry. 50 dub. I even got it tatted on me. That's a friend from Toronto you had who died. 81. They'll bring the crashes to the party, and you know me. Turn the O2 into the O3. Now, that is a reference to when he played the O2 Arena in the UK, which, tells about 20,000 people, big arena, and was being supported by Travis Scott, who had an accident on stage, which prompted Drake to claim that he was refunding everyone's tickets. Like he said, it's, everyone's getting their money back. I will link to the accident in the YouTube because it's pretty fucking funny. Basically, Travis Scott, who's the sort of younger version of Drake, he's sort of winding up to start his epic rap Goosebumps, named after the R.L. Stein books. He sort of bounces along the stage and falls down a hole in the middle of the stage.
Right.
But what makes it funny is he does it while he's using a mic, which has been set up with a heavy auto-tune filter. So you just hear this auto-tune, as he goes down a hole in the middle of the stage. It's pretty great. Like, it's just a perfect Zoolander timed moment. Then, there's this perfect length of time. Then Drake runs over and pulls him out, and he, sort of jumps straight back on the stage, and then in his ripped white acid-wash jeans, and gets straight back into the rap. So maybe Drake jumped the gun a bit by refunding 20,000 people's tickets on the strength of one guy making a twat out of himself.
Oh, yeah. If he couldn't perform, maybe I could understand, but it seems like he just got out of that hole and kept on going, which is perfect.
I don't know, but I'll link to that because it was quite entertaining. It was certainly more entertaining than this song. Anyway.
Yeah, look, I don't have much more to say about this at all.
No, quickly, let's move on to something
I'm sure
a
the
bit
next
better.
artist will be a lot better. Oh, wait, it's more Drake with Nice for What? So
2
Drake
weeks, so 13 weeks in a row starting off the year.
Sorry, let me just say that God's Plan, it's not even on Discogs. I couldn't even find a reference to it. So I don't think it was ever released in any
physical form now. I
couldn't even find anything. And he's got 68.9 million listeners on Spotify. That's a lot. That's insane. That's completely crazy.
In the world.
So next song, Nice for What? This is better better than God's plan, but that's sort of in the same way that a bullet to the head is better than falling off a cliff and damaging your internal organs and dying a slow, slow death, Tom.
Yeah, no, I quite agree. Have we had an artist knock their own number one off the chart with a number one before?
I feel like the Black Eyed Peas did it once, Tom.
That might have been it.
And I was angry then and I'm angry now. So.
Maybe Taylor?
Possibly Taylor,
but if it doesn't happen often,
it doesn't.
It's no rare. It's no wonder it's rare with quality like this, though.
No, for sure. Now, Tom, this has 21 credited fucking songwriters on it.
Yes, that would be because the song contains samples of at least 4 other songs.
It does explain that.
Yeah, X Factor by Lauryn Hill.
Oh, yep.
Big Timers, Get Your Roll On. The Showboys Drag Rap from 1986, very pertinent in America right now, and Big Freedia's intro to Freedia Live from 2017. It almost goes without saying that all of those songs are better than this one, but they are. I checked.
It goes without saying,
absolutely are.
Now, is that a record for the podcast? 21 songwriters on the track? Probably is.
I reckon it is. There was one we had before that was like that too, where they were forced to credit all the other bands.
Yeah, well,
and it was about 50. Yeah. I reckon 20 though. That's
true.
Got to be.
If you sample 3 or 4 artists, and if one of those songs that you've sampled has 5 songwriters, then you do multiply that through.
It's also possible that those songs contain songs from other people.
No,
I mean that sounds like a joke, but that does actually happen.
Oh, look, the best part of this song is not the part where Drake is rapping. We can certainly say that. It's obviously, that Lauryn Hill sample part's pretty catchy. I think that's the highlight of this song. So when this song goes to number 1, I'm like, well, it does have that sort of catchy component to it, but it's got nothing to do with him. It's just the sample that's been selected. People are obviously feeling that particular Lauryn Hill song, X Factor that you mentioned, as Cardi B interpolated the same single on Be Careful, which dropped a week previous to this song.
Okay.
So Cardi B went, I'm gonna crank that out. So with a bit of interpolation that happens every 3 weeks these days of music. So I don't know.
The sort of the hip hop, the mainstream Billboard top 10 hip hop community are quite incestuous.
Yeah.
Like they all sort of intermingle, sometimes literally, like sometimes they are going out with each other and appearing on each other's records or exes of each other and doing diss tracks about the person that they just broke up with while using someone who's gone out. It's odd. I mean, that didn't happen 20 years ago.
For sure.
The top 10. In the 90s, the grunge bands weren't all fucking each other and swapping each other's members and stuff. No. Constantly in a featuring sort of loop. Yeah, there was a bit of intermingling because they were all in the same town, but this is... Yeah, I mean, I suppose hip-hop is more like that than other genres, but it is a bit strange. I
guess being more of a sample-based music, you probably, people are trying to rush to find the best sort of source material to sample for something, but then someone else might find it at the same time or something similar, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that certain bit's been sampled on a couple of different records.
They'll get a sample, and then they'll go, oh, well, instead of just you paying for the vocal, why don't I pay Cardi B to sing the vocal instead, and then I'll just pay the interpolation fee for the quoting fee for that line from whatever, the Black Eyed Peas, instead of paying for the full thing. Yeah, that actually happens later this year. There's someone else. Look, and like you say, I prefer this to God's Plan, probably because it's more of a dance song. As opposed to God's Plan, which
God's Plan's dog shit, so that's probably why.
That's more like musical proof that God doesn't have one. This is supposedly meant to be a tribute to Drake's appreciation of female empowerment.
Oh, Jesus.
And the video, which is directed by Karina Evans again, features a bunch of powerful, influential women such as Angela Merkel, Greta Thunberg, Sanna Marin, and an animatronic Rosa Parks driving a bus. Just kidding, it's a bunch of B-list TV actresses. That said, most of them are wearing clothes.
Oh, that's good.
So it's a step up from Drake's usual videos, which are, him in a puffer jacket riding a prostitute down to 7-Eleven to get milk. That's sort of mostly his go. Also, the video features go-karts, so I'll give it an extra point for that.
Good. Yeah, do you feel like he's trying to get out ahead of accusations by doing a female empowerment video, Tom? Like, it's like, well, look at this. Remember that time I did that female empowerment video? I'm not a bad dude at all.
Well, it is kind of, sort of, I'm not sure if it qualifies as paradoxical, but there is a weird thing where you see it with corporate corporate speak sometimes, like perversely being the lowest common denominator, it does involve knowing when the wind changes.
Yep, correct,
and so if
yeah.
the wind does change in a positive social direction or one that aligns with your personal ideology, then it can seem like you can force people to, be better if that's what's currently happening,
Yeah.
like, or at least pretend to be like corporate greenwashing and that sort of thing, like, some nod towards something,
Yeah, exactly. If there are some sort of R. Kelly style accusations directed Drake's way in the future, I'm sure he'll point to this music video in court as sort of his defence and say, "Oh, look at me."
I remember when I gave away $1 million in my video.
Exactly.
There's no way that
at least
I've got 20 in the Cayman Islands that I'm not paying tax on, but sure.
At least Drake is doing vocals on this. He did have that number one last week where he did Sweet Fuck All on it, you may remember.
Yeah.
There were 3 other dudes doing vocals and someone else wrote the song, so it was a Drake number one despite not appearing to be actively involved at all.
Getting into like Timberland bloody...
it is, yeah.
What's his name? DJ Khaled territory, where you find yourself in the aftermath of the song thinking, what did that person actually contribute to?
Yeah, for sure. It seems completely bizarre. But look, power to him. This song was produced by Murder Beats, Tom.
Oh, okay.
Who's a white dude from Toronto. He's effectively the production equivalent of Snow. So Murder Beats, he did show up again next year on a track with Takeshi 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj. So he's not afraid to work with actual sex offenders, not just alleged. Which is good. So yeah, watch out for more Murder Beats action.
Is Drake the Black Snow, Ben?
Oh, look, I think that's a pretty fair assessment, Tom, if ever I've heard one.
They're both from Canada.
Yep.
They're both primarily dressed in puffer jackets as though they're about to go skiing down a giant mountain of cocaine.
Yep. But what I will say is that listening to Drake makes me miss that ragamuffin style of Snow. I certainly miss that. And I don't think Drake's had a song as good as Girl, I've Been Hurt, Now I Need Another Lover. And I don't think he ever will. So he's the black Snow, but he's also the poor man's Snow.
The brown Snow, perhaps.
We can say he's certainly...
Drake's the brown Snow. You heard it here first, people.
Yeah, definitely. He's a few notches below Snow for my liking.
He's the snow of colour, and you know what they say about the snow of colour. Steer clear of it.
Just don't go near it. Exactly.
Yeah, no, truly though, there is a lack of momentum in these songs. I think maybe that's partly to do with the kind of music I grew up with, hip hop and so forth, but like I just find that over and over again, and it just keeps recurring this year. Like, unless there's some element of dance or something brought into it by an exterior thing, like a producer or something, then they just have no momentum, these songs. Because they have no chorus, they just mumble in the chorus, or the chorus is something they borrowed from someone else, which is just someone moaning through an auto-tune, which doesn't fit. Anyway, you get it.
The lyrics to this, what's he talking about this time? Some more bullshit, probably?
Oh, don't forget, this is a more empowering Drake. He's changed.
Sorry.
This is Drake wearing his pink velour sweater that he likes.
Yeah.
It's a softer pastel Drake. I understand you got 100 bands, you got a baby Benz, you got some bad friends. Ooh. High school pics, you was even bad then. You ain't stressing off no lover in the past tense. You already had them. Work at 8 a.m, finish around 5. Hoes talk down, you don't see them outside. Yeah, they don't really be the same offline. You know dark days, you know hard times. Doing overtime for the last month. Saturday, call the girls, get them gassed up. Got to hit the club, got to make that ass jump.
Yeah.
So, in Drake's world, an empowered woman is a sort of card-carrying bad bitch who drives a Benz, earns her own money, knows how to pay a phone bill on time, then goes out on the weekend to clap them cheeks and takes 47,000 selfies, of course. Do you reckon it's possible he's still got a thing for Rihanna? That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, no doubt.
Because
definitely.
It's rumoured that they've had an on-again, off-again relationship for 15 years, although Drake just might be the rare case of a high-profile simp, much like Tarantino with Uma Thurman, or Vin Diesel with that Vin Diesel body pillow, Drake once said on stage that he's been in love with Rihanna since he was 22, and after a 2010 interview on the subject of female empowerment said, I was a pawn, he said. You know what she was doing to me? She was doing exactly what I've done to so many women throughout my life, which is show them quality time, then disappear. I was like, wow, this feels terrible. So, there's a rare moment of sort of self-awareness from a hip-hop guy. But since then, they've worked with each other, and then people will see them in a nightclub making out, or they'll be on stage, but then Rihanna will always, in interviews, always sort of keep him at arm's length and say, no, we're just friends, da-da-da-da-da. But it does seem like he legit might have a crush on him. And I think it's quite telling that on this rare occasion when off the top of his head he's trying to come up with what's an empowered woman, it just sounds like he's describing Rihanna pretty much exactly like the bad girl thing. Like that's not a thing traditionally associated with empowered women. That's just like a Rihanna branding thing. It's like just sounds like that pops into his head straight away.
Look, Rihanna can definitely do better, Tom, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So I will say that straight off the bat.
I mean, after your one night stand with Rihanna, is this how you felt? Were you like, did you just become like a lifelong, devotee?
Look, I'll have to. I can't answer.
I mean,
Tom.
gentlemen don't tell tales, do they?
You don't kiss and tell, yeah, exactly. But look, it is also nice that he felt really bad about the way that Rihanna treated him, but then admitted to, I do that all the time with basically every woman I meet. So
yeah, again, it's kind of
a
weird humble brag, but yeah. Anyway.
Oh, look, anything more to say about this? I don't have nothing more to say about Drake.
Discogs at all? Or
none for sale.
Yeah.
It was on there, but the last one sold for $52. So save your pennies if you want a copy of this on a CD single. And he's got 68, whatever it was, million people listening. Right. So lots. Cool, moving on next. It is a new artist, is it? Yes, it is. Thank goodness. Great. 30th of April for 2 weeks? Is one just 2 weeks? 1 week? One week, only 1 week. Ariana Grande, No Tears Left to Cry.
Yes. Now, is this the first one of hers we've had?
I think so. I don't think we've talked about Ariana before. So.
Yeah, I just like a changing of the guard here with these people. Ariana Grande, Drake, and someone else who's coming up later this year. Look, for a white chick who grew up watching the Kardashians, Grande seems to have learned from the masters that she can safely get away with borrowing exactly 49.85% of her mannerisms, wardrobe, vocal affectations, sexual partners, lyrical content, and complexion from Afro-America without being accused of cultural appropriation in the mainstream press. I'm white and I hate her music, so it's no skin off my nose. I just find it unoriginal, unconvincing, and unnecessary. She's Italian, if that makes any difference. Not African-American in any way. On the plus side, whether you like her music or not, this was her first release since a suicide bomber killed 22 people in a nail bomb attack following a concert in Manchester in 2017, which I'd forgotten. I felt bad about that. After that, when she could have been forgiven for going straight the fuck home and hiding in her bedroom for 6 months, instead, the next night she headlined a tribute show for 50,000 people at the Old Trafford on the request of the mother of one of the victims, only like a couple of miles away from the original attack, with like fucking Liam Gallagher and a whole bunch of just people that were around at the time. Yep. That's pretty good behaviour for a 23-year-old with access to a private jet, I would have thought, She's done some other sketchy stuff, but I was like, that's not bad.
Look, I think, the Manchester bombing was obviously horrible, and I think the way that she reacted to it was, for, as you said, someone that wasn't very old at the time, was certainly above and beyond. She certainly
no one would have blamed her for just going, I'm getting out of the country. Fucking hell.
And I think even maybe probably like 6 months or a year after the thing, I think she went back to Manchester as well and sort of performed, and she's sort of made a lot of references, I think, to sort of, posted things about how bad she feels about the situation, etc., etc.
You can be a bit of a knob without being a sociopath,
exactly. So I think she certainly handled it very well, I think, for something that, certainly very tragic. But look, Ariana Grande, amazingly, she's a child star who's managed to sustain a music career, which is a miracle, because, let's face it, a lot of them fall away quite quickly.
That's true. To me, she always felt like she belonged less to the sort of movie child star thing, and more to the sort of JT, Christina... Britney sort of Mouseketeers thing where they're like shucking and jiving from an early age.
Yeah,
and
because
it
she was on
naturally
like
transforms
Nickelodeon
into-
shows, which is effectively
like
that
sort of
bullshit.
Hannah Montana type stuff.
Correct, yeah, exactly. Look, at the age of 8, though, Tom, she did sing the Star Spangled Banner at a Florida Panthers, which is an NHL team at their home game against the Chicago Blackhawks. Is there anything worse than the child singing a national anthem at a sporting event? Is that about as bad as it gets?
Well, Drake on the sidelines filming it with his camera, looking at his calendar and wondering how many years he's got till he can,
That's
realistically have a crack at it. But no, I know it's pretty bad.
I
Even
think
if they've
adults
got a good-
only performing national anthems at any sort of event, I'd say. So
I mean, she's got a good voice, but no one needs to hear 8-year-olds on any subject except their parents.
Exactly. So that's where she got her start. Then she did some Nickelodeon shows that we've talked about from that. And then in 2011, I think it was, Tom. So a few years before this, in 2018, that's when she released her first single. So it took her a few years to sort of build things up. 2011. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She must have still
she's been around for 7 years.
She must have still only been like 16 or 17 or something at the time.
For anyone who's not familiar, she looks younger than she is.
She looks about 12 still.
I think at this point she's 24.
Okay, so 7 years before that. She
looks like
17,
she's 19. At this point.
But her first single, I knew it was really going to build into a successful career, Tom, because that first single, Put Your Hearts Up, she interpolates one of my favourite songs of all time, Tom, which is What's Up by the Four Non-Blondes. So she managed to take that song and rework it.
Someone was bound to do that.
A sort of re-envisioning of what that song should be. And she did it fantastic, and I went, this girl is going places. So after that, she did a 1950s doo-wop influenced pop and R&B album, Yours Truly, in 2013, proving once and for all that Megan Trainor really is the poor man's Ariana Grande. And then fast forward a few years, and look, I think she had her first sort of, I don't know whether it was, I don't think it went to number one, certainly not in Australia, maybe internationally, but she teamed up with Australia's premier female rapper in Iggy Azalea for a breakthrough single, Problem, which made it to number 2 on the charts and saw her fully embrace the saxophone revival and dubious rapping of Iggy Azalea, so quite enjoyed that. And then she did, can you remember Bang Bang? With Jessie J and Nicki Minaj.
No.
That was that appeared to be an attempt at sort of the new Lady Marmalade, but unfortunately it was total dog shit. But look, so anyway, the point is that she'd sort of had, before we get to this number 1 song, she'd certainly done a lot of stuff. Yeah. So even though she's only 23, sort of at this age, she's been doing music for a long time, doing the acting on the Nickelodeon shows, and then she's really pushed through.
She's been in showbiz basically her entire life, and it's had the usual positive psychological effect on her personality and self-awareness. But that's why I'm talking about the nail bomb thing. Like, I was like, that for someone who's been, in this artificial bubble of reality since that age, it was nice to see just some basic human feeling.
Absolutely.
Even though, it still makes her look good, blah, 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 blah. But do you see the video for this, speaking of making things look good?
Oh, look, I did, Tom. It's fantastic. What I liked about this was the music video personally. She appears to be walking upside down in part of the music video at the start. I think she's walking on the roof. And then she's on a wall in the music video and it's sort of spinning around.
Pretty.
It is, yeah. Remember the old days when to film a scene of you walking on the ceiling, they'd have to build a whole fake room. Then they'd have to flip it upside or put the camera upside down, and you'd have to do some, like you look at sort of how they made Dancing on the Ceiling, Lionel Richie, and it's like, we had to spend $8 million on that, and it took like 3 years to do it. And now to sort of have you dancing upside down, it would take someone 5 minutes to do in Final Cut Pro, I dare say.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's like this sort of ultra glossy, amber hued Inception inflected Dark City style thing with a giant folded city landscape and stuff. I thought, to me, it worked as a perfect encapsulation of the actual song itself, for good or bad. Like audio production, visual effects have progressed to the point now where people have an almost unlimited palette to work from, like you say, without even going to too much effort or spending too much money. The only limit is the imagination. And so, because of that, ironically, all too often you end up with this sort of thing where legit talent in terms of visualization or, like Grande's singing voice, are put to work in the service of a beautifully polished surface with absolutely nothing whatsoever underneath it.
Yep.
Like the video and the song, there's no idea here, there's no rhythm, there's no rhyme, no theme. The video has no more to say than the song, e.g. pretty person, look pretty in camera, voice sound nice, pretty things happen. It's like one of those perfume commercials where it's just like, here's stock footage of Europe and hot. We paid Scarlett Johansson to put this dress on and stand in front of a camera and say indescribable. And that's the ad, and it looks expensive and is utterly empty of anything.
Yeah, look, this is pretty standard pop fare. You are correct. It sort of doesn't really do much or say much. Look,
her style, I find a lot of her stuff. I think
I'm not especially mad at this. It's just sort of as what I'd expect. I mean, the chorus is pretty catchy, I think.
I'd say, I'll take highly polished and empty over ugly and empty anytime. I seriously, I don't think I've seen anything this highly polished but vacuous since like Stock Aitken and Waterman were on the chart. This Make Pink looks like Tolstoy, the level of thematic complexity she's got going on there. But like the video, it is, on the surface, it is pretty. Like, it's not offensive to the eye or the ear. It just,
Yeah, it is sort of just, look, let's get easy on the eye girl in front of camera and she'll just, she doesn't have a bad voice, I think. She'd sing quite well.
The video looks really cool. If it had, for instance, like the song, if it was in service of something that actually meant anything, then it might be really interesting. But
yeah, exactly. Look, Tom, let's address the elephant in the room, though. The song is called No Tears Left to Cry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, has she ripped off Australia's premier rap star RAE to the motherfucking D on his track No More Tears to Cry? I'm not
familiar with the RAED.
RAED, he is Australia's premier rapper. You may recall the video to the seminal track, Australian hip-hop royalty he is, where RAED, for this song, he's at a Melbourne beach where he likes to spend time dolphin watching.
Oh, okay.
And he relates to people, he talks to some people he's just met on the beach, that he was ditched by his girlfriend at a Christmas barbecue.
Okay.
And then he raises the valid point, quote, "Who the hell does that?" end quote. Would you leave someone at a Christmas barbecue? So that's how the video starts off. It's very much a Michael Jackson 10-minute music video. Sure. Raid down at the beach talking about sort of getting ditched by his girlfriend and dolphin watching. And then, of course, he gets into the track itself. So I thought Ariana might have ripped off RAED word for word.
Yes.
No more tears to cry, versus, what she has to say. But then I listened to her track and I didn't hear her repeat the lines from the Raid song. No more tears to cry. I got so many hoes to see by 5. I'm going to fly, so let's fly. Which is what Raid sings in his song, No Tears Left to Cry.
Perhaps it was telling his then partner about his stable of hoes that prompted her to kick him out of the Christmas barbecue.
No more tears to cry. Got so many hoes to see by 5. By 5, I'm gonna fly. That's about as quality as Ray plays.
You've told me about him before, and I still can't visualise him. I somehow managed to miss the RAED story, so I'm going to have to look him up when I get home.
Well, not only, Tom, can you watch all of his music videos on YouTube, and all of them are fantastic. They're very, very good. He's also put a feature-length film up on YouTube, Tom, that he wrote and directed himself, which I think it's sort of an autobiographical tale about him, how he got into the rap game, etc. I can't recall whether it in the film itself it uses what happened in real life where Ray called in a bomb threat to Crown Casino. I can't remember whether that gets involved in there, but anyway.
I wonder what crime they committed that warranted such a thing.
So it's a very good film. All of his songs are really, really good. It's when somebody doesn't use auto-tune, and you're like, maybe they should have experimented with auto-tune. And I don't say that often, Tom.
No.
I never say that.
No,
so
I hear you.
it's not common for me to say this needs auto-tune, but for
No.
Raid, I would say that this is a man that may benefit from just a little bit of auto-tune. He could be as big as Drake, but I get auto-tune's one thing, but you also need what am I looking for? Tempo correction, so that the rhymes actually match the beats that he's laid down.
I believe
as well.
I said that with Def FX before. It's like computers can do a lot of work, but it's pretty hard to fix the problem of not landing the notes with the words on the same
Correct.
thing. You've got to do a fair bit of work for that, actually.
Yeah. So, look, if you're a fan of Ariana Grande, you might also be a fan of Raid. If you're a fan of good music or Australian hip-hop.
Hanging around on the beach in St Kilda, waiting for the next
to see dolphins. Correct. I'm not sure what inner city Melbourne beach he was at, but if he sits there to check out dolphins, he's going to be there for some time. But look, let's just chalk this down, Tom, to the No More Tears to Cry and No Tears Left to Cry, the Ariana Grande Raid thing. Let's just chalk this down to two creative geniuses thinking a very similar song thematically at the same time. So I think we can certainly say that. I don't think Ariana has deliberately ripped off Raid. I dare say she may never have heard of Raid or this song, but, and I don't think vice versa, Raid is ripped off Ariana Grande. So I think it's just, that's just what I want to say about that. I don't want anyone to accuse me of suggesting that one's ripped off the other.
You don't want to end up being responsible for Raid calling in a bomb threat
exactly.
at an Ariana Grande concert.
Correct.
I understand she's quite sensitive about that shit.
That would be very poor form on Raid's part, I dare say.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of musical geniuses, this was written credited to ILYA, or Ilya, Savan Koteka, Max Martin, our old mate, and Ariana Grande.
Max. Yeah.
Four of the biggest musical minds of the year, 2018, and together they've combined to produce lyrics such as, right now I'm in a state of mind, I want to be in like all the time, ain't got no tears left to cry, so I'm picking it up, I'm loving, I'm living, I'm picking it up, I'm picking it up, I'm loving, I'm living, I'm picking it up, loving, I'm living, so we turning it up, yeah, we turning it up, ain't got no tears in my body, I ran out, but boy, I like it, don't matter how, what, where, who tries it, we out here vibing, we vibing. I mean, I wasn't expecting a searing treatise on the futile brutality of religious extremism, but I refuse to believe millennials are dumb enough to think this means fucking anything.
Yep.
I'm just going to have to assume, like the vocals, the production and the video, that these lyrics are just more shiny lipstick and pleasant noises in service of absolutely fuck all. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd find the deeper lyric is I've got so many hoes to see by 5, Tom. I think
At least he's expressing a human perspective on something, even if it's dumb as shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think do you reckon anyone's died outside of a Raid concert before, Tom? Probably a meth deal gone bad or something, maybe. I don't know, but certainly.
Colourful racing identities that have killed a night spot, possibly. But yeah,
exactly. Anything else to say about this one?
No, for God's sake.
So
let's move on to some real
Ariana,
music.
she's got 55.8 million listeners on
That's quite a lot.
on the Spotify, which doesn't surprise me. She's very popular. She's very big, and this would cost you $25 on the Discord.
Okay,
so there you go.
Sure.
Fucking hell, this year is it's going from bad to worse.
It's
Now,
tough going.
Ariana Grande was actually a bit of a bump up in quality compared to the Drake shit, but we're dropping back down again because next it's Post Malone featuring Ty Dolla $ign with Psycho.
God damn it.
Now, this is worse than that Post Malone song from last week.
Oh my God, you wouldn't think it was possible. I mean, we're giving shit to Drake, and then you've got, this is like the white Drake, who's like the brown snow. So I don't know what this puts Post Malone.
Yeah, because the other one was just him popping peanuts like a rock star, and this one's just like, leaning on the cycles, in the go. It's the instrumental is bland as shit. Like that's the one thing. Like the instrumental, the background instrumental music part of it itself is terrible. There's nothing happening at all.
There's nothing backing it up.
There's nothing happening at all. And the rapping's trash. And as a song about sort of how much cash he's made and all the shit he has, which,
Oh, wow.
it must be
Really?
one of the most played out topics in rap music.
Which is exactly what we were saying about the
About
last
Drake,
one.
yeah.
So he's
And,
Rockstar.
and, exactly. Yo, I'm a rapper, made all this money, and now I'm buying all this shit with it, and I can't trust anybody. Holy shit. Fucking
wow,
stop
really?
the press. We've got some original stuff going on here. Now, Malone told Billboard that the song is about, quote, super feeling yourself, which describes how he likes to live his life. He likes to do things that might get him into trouble, but Tommy acknowledges that, quote, at the end of the day, it all comes back around, so sometimes he needs to step back. So he does what he wants, he doesn't care, he might get into trouble, but sometimes he has to step back from that.
So utterly meaningless.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, for instance, this contains another Will Smith style "Get My Wife's Name Out of Your Fucking Mouth" sample of "It Was a Good Day" by Ice Cube, which is a rap song from 26 years earlier, which manages to be 26 times more listenable, catchy, socially relevant, and legitimately edgy than this still is now. Ice Cube could mumble rap freestyle better than this off the dome if you hit him with a syringe full of ketamine and got Daffy Duck to beatbox in the background. I mean, fucking hell. Look, as a fellow until recently, possibly, fan of the All Gas No Brakes show, Ben, I think you'd agree with me that there's a certain sort of wrist up, hand down, finger flick gesture made by a certain kind of white person which indicates they're about to drop some ice cold street knowledge on you in the form of dope raps, regardless of what context, time of day or night, number of children in the vicinity. Anyway, Post Malone makes that gesture in the first 2 seconds of this video. Like, literally, it's just a shot of him with his hand up and he does that. Then demonstrates that some of the dudes getting shit-faced at 11 a.m. on Florida traffic islands aren't actually that bad at rapping, at least if we use the standards of ARIA #1 acts like Post Malone to compare them to, because I've seen better things during COVID parties on Miami beaches with, half-drunk frat boys dropping beats than this shit, I tell you what.
Absolutely. Look, it wasn't Chet Hanks, was it, that dropped that rap on the All Gas No Brakes? Probably was.
I would put Chet Hanks up against Post Malone. I'm not fucking kidding.
Oh, they're pretty close. Yeah. Have you watched Andrew Callahan's documentary, This Place Rules, about the January 6 riots?
I did, yes, yeah.
There's a few rappers on there.
They show up everywhere, don't they?
It doesn't matter where he goes in the country, what he's doing, there's always some dude that's going to come up and drop some sweet lines.
It does, in a weird way, it does kind of show where Post Malone comes from, because to me, growing up in the the 90s and stuff, the idea of a white rapper still has a sort of commercial novelty value, like the idea of a rap. But now, there are several generations now of young people who've grown up listening to rap from the year dot, including white rappers. So they don't think of the idea as a white rapper as being a novelty. They just think, oh, that's one of the career progressions I could take alongside alligator wrangler, meth dealer, guy who works in 7-Eleven, etc. It's just a legitimate thing. And then so, someone like Post Malone is just like, whereas to me he seems like an obvious twat, like to them, they're like, hey, I could be the next Post Malone.
True, yeah.
I just need a guy to come along with a camera, and
Yeah, look, this song comes with its own merch line, Tom, featuring three different long-sleeve T-shirts. How many do you own of the 3?
I don't own any of the 3, but I did get his custom line of camo patterned Crocs that he sold. That's a real thing, but yeah.
Good camo Crocs. That's awesome. I'm glad he did that. Music video, he's driving around in a tank.
Yeah.
Or not quite a tank, or is it a tank?
I think it's called an APC, just like a little
personnel
tank
carrier type thing. Yeah.
If that sounds dangerously close to being entertaining, don't worry, because there's no narrative or connection to the lyrical or musical content of the song in any way, so it's clear they just got to borrow a tank for a day and poot all around in a bit of desert. Oh, and at one point Post Malone shoots a dog with a flamethrower, just in case you wondered what he gets up to on the weekends other than tattooing Rugrats gifs onto his eyelids.
Is he driving around that tank, Tom, because I can't trust nobody. That's him saying, I can't trust nobody with all this jewellery on me. That's the one of the lines from the song.
That doesn't suit the thing. I mean, the name Psycho sort of, you might, if you see Psycho, if you hear Psycho and you look at the tank and you can't be bothered reading what the lyrics are because they're not legible in the song, you might think, oh, this is about, hey, I'm a psycho, I'm driving around a tank, but that's not what it's about. The word psycho has nothing to do with the lyrical content at all.
Look,
So,
absolutely. Time Magazine named this the worst song of 2018. Now,
I'm
not sure about that, but they're not far off.
Fuck no. It does. It's like the Rolling Stone thing. You're like, I'm not sure if the editors of Time Magazine, what their qualifications are for rap music. But on the other hand, it's very difficult to disagree.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the best review I read last time, which was Earl Sweatshirt's reaction to seeing White Iverson for the first time. It was just like, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was just like, you all have fun with this one, I'm off the fucking boat with this shit. It's just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like, no, fair play, 100% I agree. Yeah.
Now, Tom, we mentioned last week that Malone launched his own line of French rosé wine, Maison Number 9, named after his favourite tarot card, the Nine of Swords. So a couple of questions for you, Tom. How many bottles have you consumed since we discussed it last week? Did you go out and buy a carton of the old Maison Number 9, a pallet? Have you just been drinking it non-stop?
Well, I think, as I said last time, I'm a Santana DVX man. That's the only sparkling wine that I drink.
Correct.
As a kid, I used to lie awake and think, when was Santana going to make a drink? As the song says.
Absolutely.
But what about you? Did you manage to track down any rosé? In your 3 long sleeve t-shirts?
I did, I was wearing the 3 long sleeves. I found it, RIP is $40 a bottle. So I think that's probably above what I'd be willing to pay for a Post Malone novelty rosé.
Sure.
However, I am going to sell one of my Psycho long sleeves on Depop, and if I can get $40 for that, Tom, I will reinvest that into the Post Malone rosé, and I'll let you know what it is like.
To give him one tiny bit of credit, like, given his sort of white trash assumed aesthetic, whether it's affected or not, I think it is, but who knows?
Who knows? We don't know.
It would have been pretty hypocritical of him to be selling like $200 wrapper vodka or something that. Like $40 rosé, which has probably been marked up from $20 because it's got his label on it. $20 rosé sounds about right for a Post Malone fan, like drinking that in the car park in your Crocs. Like, fair enough, I guess.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the problem with when you have any sort of musical artist involved in the alcohol. It is just, whatever the price is, you just halve it. That's about the quality you can get. I remember a friend of mine purchased an AC/DC bottle of wine for $20, and she said it was quite literally the worst bottle of wine I've ever drunk in my life. It was about the equivalent of a $5 clean skin, basically. So I just assumed that I'm going to spend $40 on a $20 bottle of rosé, for Post Malone's name on it.
It's like buying a bottle of wine at a restaurant, isn't it? You just assume it's double what it costs.
Post Malone, Tom, I saw a poster the other day, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they're coming to town.
Yes,
they're coming to Melbourne
He's
soon.
Supporting them.
Post Malone is support, so they might even be in town now. I'm not sure, but I believe that
it's coming up soon.
It was probably around now. So. A couple of questions. If you ran into Post Malone, if he's in Melbourne, he's recognisable. He's got the face tattoos. You know what he looks like. Do you think if you ran into him on the street, would you say, "Oh, dude, I'd love to try your rosé, but I can't find it. Do you have any bottles around?" Would you hit him up for the rosé? Would you hit him up for a ticket to the Red Chili Peppers? Would you just ignore him and keep on walking? Would you say, that was sick, you're in a tank in Psycho, or would you have anything to say to Post Malone?
Well, I assume he's a massive pussy that grew up in the suburbs and hasn't touched a gun.
Yep.
So And he's permanently stoned and on prescription drugs, so
True.
I'm guessing he'd be unlikely to hurt me. But he might have giant.
He'd have a
bodyguards.
massive entourage.
Yeah, but if I just saw him on his own at the pub, I might say, "Hey, got any bottles of that rosé? Do you want to go?
For
do you
sure.
want to go out in the car park? You can
Dude,
roll.
you got some of
you
your
can roll
rosé?
a blunt.
Yeah.
We'll split a bottle of rosé in the car park.
Got some of your rosé on you? Yeah, I'd love. Fuck, man, I can't find it anywhere.
Unless he's like one of those guys that as soon as they get drunk starts trying to freestyle all the time, which he looks a lot
terrible,
like he might be one of those dudes.
Absolutely.
So those guys can go away from the party.
What do you think is the crossover of the fan base of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Post Malone? Because I saw that as being the sort of as the support. I mean, are there many 50-year-old dudes into the blandness of the Red Hot Chili Peppers that are also into the blandness of Post Malone?
No, and likewise, are there a lot of 19-year-olds with face tattoos that their parents deeply regret that are into the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I mean, there were in 1995, but now, like in 2022, do the Red Hot Chili Peppers have a lot of young fans?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so.
Seems like this is a weird mix-up. Even their musical styles don't bear any resemblance. I mean,
no, it's a weird. I don't really know how this tour came about. I've got no idea what happened there. Mate, do you reckon maybe Post Malone was a big fan of thrashing when he was a kid? The quality Josh Brolin skateboarding movie that does feature the Red Hot Chili Peppers performing a track.
It does.
In the film. So perhaps Post Malone loves that, and he went,
true.
He just calls up Flea and says, "It's me, Post Malone. You may know me from my rosé." And Flea went, "I do. I'd love to come and play with you. I loved you guys in thrashing." And then they're like, "Yeah, let's do this."
He could be a Point Break fan.
Could be a Point Break fan. Absolutely right. Yeah, for sure. He could be a fan of Back to the Future. Flea was in that, wasn't he?
He's in a lot of stuff. It's weird. It's weird how often he pops up in the background.
Wasn't he Marty McFly's boss or something? No, Marty McFly's dad, George McFly's boss in number 2, I think.
Could well
maybe.
be.
Anyway,
yeah.
So
no,
possibly,
all the time.
possibly. So I don't really know that there's not. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought there'd be a lot of crossover there. So that was a pretty weird tour. But sorry. Back to the Mason number 9. What's your favourite tarot card? Love the Magician.
I like the Death card because it's always very subtly and intelligently used in extremely high-budget horror films.
Yeah.
Where writers are really stretching themselves when they have a scene where someone looks at tarot cards.
Yeah.
And there's always the third. They always just do 3 cards, which I don't think is how tarot cards
I don't know how it works, but yeah.
And the third card always comes up Death, and then there'll be a musical sting, and everyone looks at it.
Goes, "Ah!"
Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure that the Death card in tarot doesn't just mean the person who looks at this is going to die soon.
Might be more nuanced than that. But
well, one would like to think. Otherwise, you'd just be continually telling people who'd paid money for a tarot reading that they were going to die.
Yeah.
Which seems a bit bad for the sort of return business aspect of your tarot card business. Yeah.
You got anything more to say about this track or onto lyrics?
Not really, no. Lyrically, I was going to just say there was one thing. This and Rockstar debuted at number 2 on the Billboard charts, making him only the second rapper ever to achieve that, although I guess that just proves that the Billboard charts has got fuck all to do with rap music, really. But yeah, even in 2022. Lyrics, this was written by Carl Rosen, Louis Bell, Ty Dolla $ign, and Post Malone, whatever the fuck that means in this case, don't know. One guy pressed the trap preset button on the Yamaha, one guy pressed record in front of Malone, one guy repacked the bong, I guess.
Yeah.
And Malone freestyled some shit like, "Damn, my AP going psycho." That's a watch. His watch is going psycho. "Little mama bad like Michael. Can't really trust nobody with all this jewellery on you. My roof look like a no-show. Got diamonds by the boatload. Come with the Tony Romo for clowns and all the bozos." Oh, sorry, did you think this was going to be something other than a dumb, fat, white cunt bragging about his blood diamond jewellery for 4 minutes? Because it's not. He's a generous man, though, Ben.
Yep.
You know, sometimes he feels so generous with the sheer quantity of champagne that he has that he'll even give an ugly girl a sip.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty generous of him because he's a real catch himself, what with audible chunks of his brain missing from opioid abuse and half a public toilet drawn on his face. So, yeah, those lucky ugly chicks who get an extra sip of free champagne from his rosé collection he's just released.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's, Jesus.
I mean, what the F can you say?
Post Malone has 50.6 million listeners on Spotify, which is insane to me.
That's bonkers.
That's pretty crazy. And this will cost you $38 on the Discogs.
50.6 million listeners.
Who are these people?
Sure.
Who the fuck are these people?
Not know.
All right, Tom. Up next, 21st of May. It is Childish Gambino. This is America.
Fucking hell. Actual good song. 17 weeks for Drake, 1 week for Childish Gambino. This is Australia. There you go.
Now, I don't say this often, Tom, but would this classify as a legitimate cultural phenomenon and not a fake cultural phenomenon like some bullshit on TikTok with someone falling into a volcano or something? But
I know what you mean. It's like there is an occasion when the sort of the new school of sort of viral TikTok type videos crosses over with the old fashioned style of like a music video sort of deliberately made to kind of hit the mainstream, and they do sort of overlap, and you get something like this where it's obviously the video of the year, whether it wins any awards or not. Like it's like the only video from 2018 anyone's going to remember 10 years later off the top of their head is like this sort of thing. And you can like a lot of those good videos, like Smack My Bitch Up or something, you can see one still frame of it and you know which video you're looking at because it's just so visually kind of distinct that, him with no shirt off, bit of a dad gut in a car park with some weird isolated shit happening behind him in the background and him doing some weird dance move that you can, any frame of this video you can see, it's that what
absolutely. Look, I just seem to remember that when this was released, a lot of people everywhere people were talking about the video at the very least, if not the song. Like I remember it being like on, I think I saw it on like mainstream news channels, like everybody is talking about this video. So it sort of broke through just this sort of, alternate, like what Childish Gambino's usual audience would be, I guess. It sort of went outside. And obviously it went to number one, so a lot of people were streaming this song or listening to it.
But like you say, it was also number one this year on Rage's top 50 videos of the year. So that's like the alternative video charts as well. Like it's, so it's mainstream and it's,
So the video was directed by Hiro Murai, who worked with Glover on Atlanta. So he's a director.
Okay.
So sorry for those that don't know, Childish Gambino is just the stage name of Donald Glover from. I know him predominantly from Atlanta. Other people might know him from other stuff he's done. Community. I think he was on like 30 Rock in some episodes.
Yeah, he was a writer for 30 Rock.
And I think he's done like some Star Wars shit and some other things that I don't watch.
He's in a very funny film before anyone knew who he was. I can't remember what it's called, and I don't have the internet. But it's about four crime-solving detectives, like the famous Four, or like the Hardy Boys, but they're like grown up. They're like all 20 now, and they still go around town on their bikes, like solving mysteries and shit. Nice. And everyone in the city, this sort of town, sort of kind of tolerates them, and they just sort of let them do their thing, but they all think they're weird and they don't understand why they act like they're 12 when they're 20. Yeah, it's quite funny. And one of them's because they had roles when they were kids, which they've now grown out of. So one of them's like, he was like the strong guy when he was a kid, and now he's just exactly the same as all the other ones. He's meant to be the tough guy, so he keeps getting beaten up. And then they accidentally uncover some actual horrific murder. Nice. That's real funny if you get a chance to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, check it out. So as you said, sort of that music video, pretty big. I guess, the song itself is sort of, I guess, pretty political.
Have you listened to much of his other stuff?
No.
I must say, I've listened to a few albums, but from what I remember, they were less. The stuff I listened to anyway was less sort of didactic and kind of political than this. It was more. He's a good rapper, but it was much more in the traditional Post Malone. I've got money. I've got a huge dick.
Was he backpack rap?
Yeah, a bit. But I mean, the subject matter was fairly. You know, it was a bit more traditional. Whereas this is very. I'm angry and I've got something to say.
Yeah,
definitely.
look, I mean, this is sort of, you know, obviously police brutality, gun violence, racism, that sort of stuff all gets captured in this song.
There was a lot of that going around in 2018. Yeah, fortunately
exactly.
we solved all of that and it's all cool now.
For sure. But, you know, as I mentioned, I know him predominantly from Atlanta, and that show obviously also deals with all of those issues as well. So, I think it's, if you haven't watched Atlanta, it's definitely one of the better shows of the last few years, I would suggest, because it's certainly... Season 1 starts off as just sort of a sitcom, kind of, you know, hey, there's a dude who's an up-and-coming rapper. Donald Glover plays the manager of that, and then the ups and downs of being a manager of an up-and-coming rapper in Atlanta.
It's like his cousin.
That's right. Season 2 gets a bit wild, like it still follows through with that sort of narrative. It gets a bit wilder with off-the-cuff random episodes, and that sort of has continued on in the last couple of seasons as well. It's finished now, I think 4 seasons, and it's done, but certainly very, very much worth watching, I would suggest, if you've not seen it. So.
It's also very tinged with hip-hop, like there's a lot of scenes of just people listening to hip-hop. There's a lot of hip-hop diegetically in the soundtrack. Yep. Then there's also a lot of songs which they've obviously written just custom stuff for the show. Like there's whole fictional rappers in the song, in the show who have regular... There's a sort of rival of his, that sort of young, really smart guy who's like a kind of secret... you know, cold-ass gangster guy, and he's got songs, like, which have just been, I don't even know who they're written by, but, you know, so that, and Paperboy, he's the main character. I do like, I know it's unfashionable to point this out, but it borrows from that, or it expands on that thing that Louis C.K. sort of set up with his TV show, where... like that idea where a show can be a sitcom one episode, then it can be a side character thing another episode, then it can be a dramedy another episode, then it can be just some weird social thing. Like you can have tonal shifts and it doesn't, you know, you can do whatever you like, you know, which is cool. I'm glad people kept that going. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. You have the sort of, you're right. There's the narrative episodes, or the sort of the thing that, it keeps the story rolling per se, the story arc episodes.
Yep.
And then there's the other just outside of that where you can just do whatever you want. And obviously, Louis C.K. definitely did that. I know he's still persona non grata, although I think I did read recently that he'd sold out like at 20,000 seats at the Madison Square
He's touring
Garden.
Australia this year.
So he isn't really cancelled.
Him and Dave Chappelle. He was never really cancelled.
No.
All that happened was that one studio didn't release his fucking movie. That's all.
Exactly.
He was cancelled in the traditional white person sense of some people wanted him to apologise, but only if he felt like it, so that was it.
So Atlanta certainly follows in that tradition.
And it also has the little surreal touches in it that I love from Louis C.K. I love that. It's that episode that ends with like a gunfight in a car park, people screaming and running off, and then one guy drives past in an invisible car, which was just something that they referenced as a joke way earlier in that episode, like some dumb guy going, I heard he has an invisible car, and you're just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. In the background, it's people screaming and running off, and one guy just sitting there just getting past.
Exactly.
That's great. I love shit like that.
So you might be asking then, Tom, as we've said, Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, what's the origin of the Childish Gambino stage name? Well, it turns out that he used a Wu-Tang Clan name generator, which is cool. So it's funny, last week when we said Post Malone just used a rap name generator, I went, that's the wackest thing I've ever heard. But for Donald Glover, for some reason, it seems fun. So,
well, the dumb thing with Post Malone is that it was half of it is just his name anyway.
Yep.
What is it? I can't remember his name, and I don't care enough to look it up. Yep. It's either Barry Post or Barry Malone.
Yep.
So it's just half his stupid
Austin Post, I think it is.
Yeah, so it's half his name, whereas Childish Gambino
is just completely bizarre.
That could be an alter ego for, Old Dirty Bastard or something like that.
Exactly. So look, I used, I think I found the same Wu-Tang Clan name generator, Tom, and my name is Unreal Ventura, and Tom, you are Fearless Designer. So we'll be going by those names from now on.
Fearless
on the podcast.
Designer, hell yeah.
Fearless Designer and Unreal Ventura.
How do you get them? What do you enter into these things?
I just put in my name, and then I just put in your name.
Oh, okay.
Just first name and last name, just put it in, and then it just pumped out.
It's pretty weird, given that I am a designer.
Yeah, there was...
And fearless, obviously.
Exactly.
I'm constantly punching lions in the face,
So there was another rap. I think I found a rap name generator, and you put your first and last name in, and like something like, what's your favourite pet or some bullshit.
Oh, okay.
And it spat out like 50 names, whereas with the Wu-Tang Clan one that I found, just put in my first and last name, same with you, and it just popped it out and just says, here is the name.
Say what you like
Unreal
about
Ventura.
Iggy Azalea. Her name comes from doing the what's your porn star name? Your pet, first pet and first street that you lived on, and that for doing that, I reckon that's not a terrible name. It's weird enough that it sticks in your head, and it's not sort of fake sounding. It just sounds like Childish Gambino. It sounds kind of odd enough to be real, but not sort of weirdly flattering or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But just by the way, the film is Mystery Team. That's
Okay.
what it's called. That
Cool.
one. Yeah, 2009. That's all right.
So the song, this actually did win the Grammy, Tom, for Best Music Video.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Which is
Easily the
obvious
best
because,
video of the year,
so many references in there to obviously things that were happening at the time. Plus also just sort of, you read a...
This was the Atlanta riots and Portland riots and all this shit was happening as
Absolutely right. And just sort of the... in the music video, his character's sort of lack of, just shooting people down and sort of the disregard that people have for victims and sort of that sort of stuff. So, so look, really good music video. Also won Song of the Year, Record of the Year, and Best Rap Performance. This was the first hip-hop song to win the Grammy Award for Song of the Year or Record of the Year. So that was pretty cool. He was offered a chance to perform on the broadcast, but he turned it down and he didn't actually attend the ceremony at all. So he's just don't care. So thanks for the awards, but couldn't give a shit, really, which is cool.
He's got actual artistic integrity and commercial success, which do not go hand in hand very often. These days, especially involving people with the male genitalia, you always want to prefix that with currently, because you never know what could happen 2 weeks down the track. He might become a Scientologist or become an anti-vaxxer or something, but or get caught having sex with underage girls. But he really does seem to have sort of maintained that. Yeah,
definitely. No, for sure, that creative integrity. And look, this is certainly the most interesting song of the year thus far, but it's faint praise because there hasn't been a lot to work with. So, and I think I read recently that he's working on a sort of a TV series reboot or reimagining of Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I did hear that too,
yeah. So hopefully he gets Jolie and Brad Pitt back.
Man, it would be rad. It would be really cool. He did that. He did a low budget film with Rihanna too. Remember that? Set on somewhere near
Battleship.
No,
it wasn't that. Wasn't that at all. Yeah. Set on that island or whatever. And that was another music.
Independence Day 2. Yes. No. It would be really cool if he became a sort of. Jordan Peele kind of character, like a director who did sort of... Because, he obviously loves the mainstream. He's working on sitcoms, he's doing stuff like that, but he's a sort of step above, your average kind of person. If you could do, like, socially conscious but entertaining movies, like if you could make Mr. and Mrs. Smith into something that actually had something to say,
of course,
you'd get hella rich, for
definitely.
one thing.
It's so easy to get a sitcom and then have one series and it's really popular and people go, I like that, and then let's just do paint by fucking numbers bullshit where we just follow through the same shit every series and now he's a bigger rapper and cool. But he obviously didn't do that, wanted to do something different, so that's super cool. What lyrical highlights or any other highlights for this? Or
I didn't look into these as much as I could have. But yeah, it's a kind of an odd song. It's sort of got two modes, which is conscious.
Yep.
It's sort of got a happy, sort of vaguely kind of. I think it's supposed to be a sort of ironically sort of
Uplifting,
kind of
churchy
spiritual,
choir type thing, as
choral,
the chorus,
gospel-y sounding, Negro
correct.
gospel sort of sounding thing, and then it switches to sort of the
pretty dark
harder
sort of beat, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of,
So, and the video kind of, so in the dark bits, it switches to, this is America, don't catch you sleeping now, look what I'm whipping now, this is America, and so forth. And then, guns in my area, I got the strap, I got to carry him, that sort of thing. But then it'll go back to him saying, I've got, everything's good, I've got Gucci, I've got, I mean, you could argue that this is not a million miles away from your Post Malone in the sense of like bragging about that stuff, but the fact that it has something else to say, that there's there's a subtextual element, there's juxtaposition of different things, and that he's kind of undercutting, this style of music with, from both angles gives it something else. Like the video, it's not a million miles away from something that somebody, in the charts might do, but it just has so much going on. Like Drake would not machine gun a gospel choir in his video. He also would not take off his shirt and dance around on top of a car with a giant beard in a weird way.
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
he wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
no, for sure.
Strange.
Absolutely. Anything else to say about this one?
No. I think you covered that, Bron.
20 million listeners on Spotify for Childish Gambino, so it's a lot. And only physical release was a 7-inch single.
Okay. Wow.
And the cheapest one on Discogs is $131. So there you go. Good times.
Like that, it's highly sought after, like, the solo project with the Veronicas,
Correct. All right, Tom, up next for 8 weeks. It's 5 Seconds of Summer.
They're back.
Youngblood.
Wow.
Now, I'm not sure about this one, Tom. You know that I'm a punk rock lover.
Sure.
You know that. I've always loved the biggest punk acts of all time, whether that's the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, Bowling for Soup, Less Than Jake, or in more recent times, Sum 41, Good Charlotte, these guys, I love the She's So Perfect standing there in the American Apparel underwear from a few years ago, I remember that. And now it appears that they've ditched their punk sound, and some have called them, had called them the new Sex Pistols. I know people were saying that about them. That's what they were. But they've sort of replaced that sort of punk Sex Pistols sound with, what's sort of like a pop rock, new wave, whatever this might be.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to say, Tom, is that it's hard to show up to a Real Big Fish reunion show these days with a 5 Seconds of Summer tattoo. That's all I'm saying. They've sold out. They've sold out. They used to be punk as fuck, and now they're doing this.
Well, look, I feel a little bit dumb because I think I said in their previous, when we were talking about the
American Apparel
was it
underwear
I'm
song?
So Down?
Yeah,
that's that they were suggesting that they were a flash in the pan, that this kind of pop punk was incredibly played out. But they went on to be massive.
Oh,
They're absolutely friggin' huge.
We look stupid now, don't we?
Well, we certainly look poor compared to them because they're about 25 years younger than me and have more money than I'll ever see in my entire life. But, so, they're doing something right. But, I think listening, to what they were talking about, this was an attempt by the youngsters to consciously move into a more new wave direction, which might explain why the chorus is actually kind of bouncy and catchy in my mind, and the vocals are a touch more interesting than the usual post-busted fake Cali bullshit.
Yep.
I mean, how do you think it had succeeded at achieving their goal of being new wave, Do you think it was more or less successful than the band Made in Japan from the 1980 horror masterpiece New Year's Evil, which is set in a 2-hour-long movie, most of which is set at a new wave New Year's Eve dance party on live TV, but has clearly been filmed by someone who has no idea what new wave music looks or sounds like. So there were some parallels there.
Oh, look, Tom, this is new wave. If someone was to say to me, what is new wave, I would point to this song first and foremost, I think. Is it New Romantics? Could be.
Not quite,
No.
but maybe that'll be their next step.
Could be.
They seem to be following a musical direction from about 40 years ago. They've started off in punk, now they're moving to new wave. So I guess New Romantic is the next album.
It makes absolute sense
I
that
look
they've
forward
gone
to see
from
them with gold braided lapels, face makeup, you know, one feathered earring, some highly questionable Native American shit going on in the headwear area.
So if they go through that in about 10 years' time, they'll probably be doing rap metal then, I assume, once we go through the sort of straight from punk into post-punk, new wave, sort of, I guess, into synthy stuff. Then they'll be doing grunge, and then after that they'll be doing post-grunge, then they'll be doing rap metal, new metal. So I think they're going to follow that trajectory,
because by that time, new metal should be on its third comeback.
Exactly right.
So they should be just in time for the Woodstock 2099 gig.
And then they can add a brass section and get on that real big fish train that I was talking about before.
For this 26th Ska revival.
Exactly.
Well, listen, according to the lads, Michael, we said we think Youngblood should be the first single. Let's put it as a track that if you pre-order the record, you get it. Then Youngblood starts kind of going a little crazy on streaming. There's a couple of I Told You So's going around, and we get a phone call from our label in Australia, and they're basically telling us that they want to go with that as the single in Australia rather than What You Back, which is the first single in America. So we thought, okay, let's try it. And they start going with Youngblood, and then this song really starts to seep into the music scene down in Australia, which ends up evolving outwards to the rest of the world as well. Given everyone else in the world had no option but to go with it, like in terms of publishing terms. Ashton said, this is a big moment for Aussie music too, because now records are starting to break from Australia, which they never do. They always are expected to get to the US first and try to break the record from the US, but now our song is breaking out from Australia. And Callum added, I remember we'd be like, we love Youngblood, but we think it's super forward thinking for this band and we want to release it first. And our record label guy said to Ash that live drums will never be played on radio. He was like, live drums, man, you got to ditch the live drums. But they were wrong, Ben, and 5SOS became your personal favourite song of the year, like you told me off mic just earlier, because of those live drums.
Absolutely,
I thought there were two small things to note there. One, Australian record companies kicking goals as usual, encouraging acts to use shitty fake drum sounds which instantly date a song exactly like they did in the 80s and the aughts. And also the more interesting note that with the sort of democracy of Spotify and streaming and stuff, whatever you might think of the downsides, e.g. Drake occupying 9 spots on the top 10 every time he releases a fucking album, there are some bright spots, e.g. that music can be released from anywhere and take off. You know, it is a lot more democratic now in terms of the promo budget or exposure of the country in question. You know, assuming an army of 13-year-old girls already know your name at least, you know. That's why I upload 5 TikTok dances every week, Ben, just to keep the tweens on the hook.
Oh, yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. Live drums on the radio, Tom. Has it ever happened before? Obviously,
well, clearly not in the mind of whoever the fuck that record executive was. But, yeah.
You never hear live drums on the radio. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. But, you know, that's what I expect from people working within the music industry. They seem to have absolutely no knowledge of the music industry.
Yes,
so
particularly.
Yeah. Did you watch the music video, Tom?
I did, yeah. What did you think?
Well, filmed in Tokyo, and it's sort of what we start off with an elderly couple, and they're getting towards the end of their life, and then they sort of, I guess, flash back and relive their lives, I guess, per se. They sort of
reminiscent.
They take the green pill, I believe, so not quite red pill Bill, but they're doing that, and that enables them to sort of relive their youth.
Yes.
Where they sort of travel back to like a 50s, and we get to see them involved in the Japanese rockabilly culture.
Yes.
They've got the leather jackets, they've got the boots on, they're hanging out in rockabilly clubs, they're dancing around. Had nothing to do with the song at all.
No, doesn't really suit it. No. But, I mean, you lived in Tokyo for some time, Ben. What can you tell me about these bouffant-haired youngsters? Because there is still a big, there's still rockabilly clubs and stuff there, you know. I mean, they do love a club in Japan.
Well, they do
love a tribe.
So, what I will say is that the clip was... the director, Frank Boren, he was inspired by a trip he took to Japan where he went to Yoyogi Park.
Oh, okay.
And came across a huge group of Japanese rockabilly guys and girls. And this is what he had to say. Every Sunday, they're dressed in their full rockabilly gear, doing their hair out in public, taping up decades-old boots, dancing the day away to 50s music blasting on their boombox. Flash forward 10 years later, Five Sauce was releasing Youngblood. The band and I were collaborating. The band were really into the idea of highlighting the rockabilly crew. We hung out with them for a couple of days. They took us around Tokyo, gave us a peek into their world, which really lent itself into the spirit of the song and ultimately became the video. So that's what the director had to say. I used to live in Harajuku, Tom, which is directly next to Yoyogi Park. So I would often walk through Yoyogi Park, and every Sunday the rockabilly people are there doing their dances, whatever, dancing around in their old clothes, and a bunch of tourists come and look at it and go, oh, look at these people dressed in 50s rockabilly clothes doing that thing. So, yeah, so it does exist. Probably to this very day, I wouldn't be surprised. So when they went to do the music video, I'm sure they just showed up and asked some people, actors in Japan, can you dress up in some rockabilly clothes, go to Yoyogi Park and do some dancing? Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, one could say, hey, maybe you should have saved that idea for a song that sounds even vaguely like the kind of thing they might have been listening to, and possibly done something for this video a bit more influenced by, I don't know, new wave music, which is supposedly trying to be like, say, I don't know, a clip from the 1980 horror classic New Year's Evil.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you know, it's not entertaining.
No.
I found myself wondering how long those guys have been doing that for. Like, have they actually been doing that since the 50s?
I doubt it,
more recent invention?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the torch gets passed on, per se. Like, a lot of the people you would see there, you know, they might be 40-year-old dudes or something that are still doing it. So you might be like, they might have been doing this for 20 years, but, you know, they wouldn't have been alive in the 50s.
When did the sort of rockabilly revival start? I mean, it was big in Frere like 15, 20 years ago. You would see a lot of those.
I reckon in Japan it's just never died. It's like...
Since, what, the 80s or something?
Probably. It's probably just kept on going, but it's just a very small group of people probably that just keep the flag going.
Well, not a lot of people can be bothered putting that much effort into their hair. I don't think it's...
You know how you...
The level of height they can achieve, those guys, is quite impressive.
Yeah. You know how there's like dog shit hair metal bands from the 80s that no one cared about anywhere in the world after about 1987, yet you'll see that they still play 8 shows a year in Japan.
Yep.
That's sort of what happens. I think in Japan there's a certain niche... There's a lot of niche little subcultures, I guess, and there's people that are just like... They'll live for something forever. So the fact that, you know, there's a terrible... Well, I won't say terrible, but let's say, for example, when we talked about Mr. Big all those episodes ago, like what was it? Something like you'd look at them and they basically just play only in Japan and a couple of... And it's because their core group of fans from back in the day still want them to come to Japan a couple of times a year and they get to play there. And I assume it's the same with the rockabilly thing. There are probably dudes that were super into it in some period of time. They've just kept that going. It's not a large group of people, but yeah, there'd be enough rockabilly clubs around, and 5 Seconds of Summer have co-opted that, Tom,
they sure
into
have.
their Youngblood music video. So look, I don't know, I guess it shines a light on a subculture that some people may be unfamiliar with, but anyway.
How are they doing these days?
Five Sauce, Tom, they're doing super well. They've got 19.7 million listeners on Spotify.
Hell, that's only slightly less than
That's a lot.
Glover.
That's a lot. Heck. And this will cost you $30 on Discogs. Now, what about the lyrics?
Song written by band.
Did they?
Instrument played by human being. Sorry, I don't know why I get like this. There's plenty of good electronic music out there. Truly, I'm not one of those people who thinks that only has to be. It's just that, you know, we're halfway through 2018 and I haven't heard any yet. It's just this was like a breath of fresh air, even though I'll never consciously listen to it again in my life. But, speaking of lyrics such as lately our conversations end like it's the last goodbye. Then one of us gets too drunk and calls about 100 times. So who have you been calling baby? Nobody could take my place. when you're looking at those strangers, hope to God you see my face. Again, like nothing mind-blowing, but somehow made it through a whole verse without talking about their watch collection, how many prostitutes are in their stable, dropping the N-word 17 times, bragging about their Xanax addiction, or how they came up rough in the middle-class suburbs of Canada. So, you know, props for that. And they do sound vaguely new wave. A lot of new wave had that kind of... had a bit of that sort of punk aggression, but without the tearing down society thing. There's a bit of that sort of pushy kind of thing. Yeah, I thought, I didn't hate this song, you know.
Look,
I'll never listen to it again,
to
but
be honest,
it wasn't awful.
It's one of the top ones of the year.
Yeah, the bar is so effing low, but yeah, I'd put it at like my third best of the year.
I think this song comes on in a shop and I'm not like going, oh, for fuck's sake.
No.
Like going,
for one thing, I wouldn't, if I didn't know who it was, I wouldn't automatically assume it was some pop punk cash-in, because it doesn't sound
they've
like
they've certainly got rid of that.
They've developed a little bit anyway,
Indeed. All right, up next?
Yeah, who else is developing their sound, Ben?
Oh, it's Drake. He's back, Tom, Within My Feelings. Now,
for 4 more cunting weeks.
The Australian public, have they lost their collective mind? 3 Drake songs in a year. This harks back to the days of multiple Black Eyed Peas songs.
I made the exact same note.
All
what the
equally
hell
shit.
is wrong with Australia? What, Jesus.
This is fucking garbage as well. Now, did you watch the music video for this one, Tom?
I did, yes.
Now,
remind me.
He's gone full Michael Jackson with this, where he's got a storyline music video before the song kicks in.
He's got something before the song kicks in. 3 minutes of something, and then another 3 minutes at the end.
The problem is, the 2 minutes before the song kicks in is some of the most boring shit imaginable. It's Drake walking up to a house and, like, you know, throwing a rock at the window or something. A chick sticks her head out and he's like, yeah, baby, you know, I miss you or I want you or something. Something fucking mind-numbingly boring. It's not interesting dialogue. It's not creative. It's not exciting. Nothing happens. And then the song starts and it's just like, why in the living fuck?
First of all, her mum sticks her head out and complains about him. The mum, played by Camille Huxtable from The Cosby Show, doing some Cosby Show level acting, which suits Drake's sort of Degrassi junior high level acting. And as you say, relates to nothing in the song and isn't funny. It's weird.
It's
like it's meant to be kind of endearing and sort of make him seem like a real guy, but it's just, it's like a joke-free sitcom scene.
It was shit. I don't know why he'd put it in front of there.
Also, how old is Drake supposed to be? What the fuck is he doing flicking rocks at a chick's window? Do you think one of the members of Stranger Things was in there or something? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. He probably does that quite frequently. It's just they had to age up the chick in the window, I'd say, compared to what happens in real life. And also, you watch Drake there and just go, oh, fuck, this guy used to be an actor, because the delivery of the lines is so poor that it's just sort of him going, hey, what's up?
That's what I mean. It is really, it's set at like child actor level. It's like he's never moved past there. Even Camille Huxtable's fucking acting him off the scene. Oh, and by the way, too, if you're trying to seem endearing and kind of, you know, boyish, maybe don't stand in front of your fucking Escalade, which is like the universal car of utter cockknockers next to the Humvee and the BMW M3. Like,
it was a waste of time, that pre-credit scene.
And then there's more at the end, which also has nothing to do with the start and has nothing to do with the middle part. In between is a bunch of people doing the shiggy, I guess, which looks a bit like that dance Aphex Twin does in Window Liquor, except not as good, interspersed with half-naked women waving their vaginas back and forth, a bit like that bit in Window Liquor, except not as good.
The bit at the end of the video was actually Atlanta, a reference from Atlanta. Remember in season 2 when they went to Drake's house? So I believe, but it has nothing to do with the song.
It's called. It was listed as a sample of because they sort of sampled that. And there's an episode about Drake, a party at Drake's house in an episode of Atlanta,
Yeah.
but Drake does not appear in that,
he
or
doesn't.
nor does his music. Like, it just happens to take place at his
So
house.
I think they reference Drake at the end of the video references something that happened in the Atlanta thing, and in the music video as well. But yeah, the point is that there's a bit of a pre-part and post-part to the song, both completely unnecessary,
and
both
they
terrible.
don't match. They
don't have nothing to do with
the
each
start
other.
and the end have nothing to do with
And
each
the
other.
song's terrible as well.
The Atlanta episode revolved around Drake and was aptly titled Champagne Papi, his Instagram username and producer alter ego, and featured Drake's total absence in the episode, all of which takes place at what's meant to be his house, which I'm choosing to believe was a sort of metaphorical reaction to the utter vacuousness of mainstream hip-hop by Donald Glover, although it could have just been a joke about worshipping rich people who don't give a fuck about you enough to even show up at their own fucking party.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Exactly.
Like, no, everyone had, because he's got like some expensive marble, so everyone at the party has to take their shoes off, so they're all wearing like weird little paper bags around their feet.
That's right.
Like all these women who spent 5 hours putting on makeup because they thought they might get a chance to hook up with Drake, and now they're walking around with paper bags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, In My Feelings is an upbeat, New Orleans bounce-influenced love letter to Kiki, KB, and the members of City Girls, aka JT, not that one, and Young Miami, not that one. The track is produced by 40, Trap Money Benny, and Black Namildi. Black Namildi had a hand at producing another track on Scorpion, Nice for What, which has similar New Orleans bounce influences. So again, Drake is just sort of shifting his style to something else, which, you know, seems to be currently, and he's on the money again because he's, you know, it's another hit. But yeah, it's not good. But
No, it's not good.
No, it's heavily based on vocal samples again, which is a staple of New Orleans bounce. Conveniently, it's also a staple of all of Drake's lazy shit. One included sample is Magnolia Shorty Smoking Gun, and City Girls' vocals are written to sound similar to that track, which is what I was talking about before. So rather than pay for the actual sample, I've just paid for the interpolated rights and then put new stuff over it. Also sampled his Lil Wayne's Lollipop as well. So yeah.
Good.
Days following the album's release, In My Feelings garnered widespread media attention due to a viral video of comedian and Instagram personality Shiggy, whoever the fuck that is, dancing to the song's hook. The video evolved into the hashtag Do the Shiggy challenge, which makes me want to punch a millennial in the face, just anyone that's walking past, where people would try to replicate Shiggy's original video. The challenge contributed to In My Feelings topping the Billboard Hot 100.
Like that.
Much like the, what was the one we had before? The other dance that also looks like someone with the DTs tipping over. What was it fucking called? The one by Bauer.
What was that?
What was the dance? It was another YouTube dance trend that had nothing to do with the actual
the
song.
Harlem
The
Shake.
Harlem Shake, yes. Yep. So, you know, once again, Drake being super original. But yeah, how did this song go in terms of cash terms?
Nothing on Discogs.
Nothing on
Not
Discogs.
there.
And yeah, Drake's still probably added a couple more million people to his views since we last mentioned him. Did you have anything else to say about this?
No, this sucks.
It's almost impossible to think of anything interesting to say.
I just don't want to talk about Drake anymore.
No,
because,
I know.
Yeah.
I hear you. Lyrically, Two Bad Bitches and We Kissin' in the Wraith. That's an expensive car. Kissin' in the Wraith. Kissin' in the Wraith. I need that black card and the code to the safe. That's a credit card that fucking American Express put out. Code to the safe. Code to the safe. I showed him how that neck work. Fuck that Netflix and chill. What's your net worth? So after briefly flirting with the concept of women being human beings, Drake returns to what he does best, publishing songs reiterating that they're all gold-digging skanks who exist to perform blowjobs on wealthy men in exchange for tacky status tokens like credit cards and shiny cars. I'm starting to think the real blowjob master is Drake, and he's found one very influential record executive with a taste for ex-Degrassi manhole, and he's just working that shaft like, you know, nobody's business, because I can't think of a lot of other explanations for how this keeps happening.
Yeah, do you think, is it possible that Spotify just isn't able to take into account ironic listens? People that have just went, the fuck, what? You heard that new Drake song? It's straight garbage. I better listen to it.
It's
and
funny.
then you tell your friend and everyone goes, listen to this new
Yeah.
Drake, it's fucking trash.
Yeah.
Then it's racked up 1 billion views and it's gone to number 1. And it's like going, oh, fuck.
I know what you mean. I was reading a thing just recently. It's funny you say, like last week, literally, and they were just talking about a subject we've covered a lot, which was just people saying from various parts of the music industry, just saying, look, the charts just don't really work the way they did before. Like they do, whatever you like, whether you believe in them or not, or you think charts themselves are stupid or not, they just aren't. They don't measure the music the way that they used to. So comparing now to then, you're comparing apples and oranges. And some people were saying, hey, we should have a new chart. Some people would say we should get rid of charts because it was fucking stupid in the first place.
Yep.
Some, but whatever you think, it's just that, people don't listen to music the same way they do psychologically. They don't listen to music the same way they do literally, and they don't, they don't measure stuff the way they did before in terms of how many ways they listen to a song. Like the number of times you listen to a CD when you've only got 20 CDs is obviously going to be different to the number of times you listen to a song when you have infinity music.
Yeah.
Look,
I would never go out and buy a CD single of a song that I thought was dog shit.
No.
But I might stream a song that I think is dog shit of several times just to listen to it and go, fucking hell, that really is bad.
By the same token, I listened to many songs that were dog shit because they were on albums that I liked, and I didn't have that many albums, and I would listen to the same album over and over again.
That's true.
And occasionally, songs that I thought were dog shit would actually turn out to be one of my favourites years later. But I would not have done that because I wouldn't
skip
listen
those
to
ones.
the same song. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right, what do we got next? Let's move on.
Ooh, up next we've got Dean Lewis, Be All Right, for 5 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah. Look, I know you love a piano ballad, Ben.
Yeah, look, Australian singer-songwriter Dean Lewis with a song about his girlfriend getting deep-dicked by some other dude or dudes, we don't know.
And
the
patting him
aftermath
on the back
of that deep dicking by his girlfriend is the inevitable breakup.
Yeah.
So that's what this song is about. So that's an original topic for pop music, which is fantastic. Now, Dean Lewis, as I mentioned, he is Australian. He had a song a few years before this, I think 2016, called Waves or something, which got a little bit of traction in the US. Tom, it was used in a few TV series. Magnum P.I., they must have remade that, apparently.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy, Suits. So this song was played in that. Maybe Meghan Markle getting finger blasted on a coffee table in Suits while this was playing in the background. Perhaps, I'm not sure.
Does that happen in Suits? Maybe
I don't know. I assume it
Sounds
does.
like the kind of thing.
So anyway, so that was sort of that was his first single ways back then. Fast forward a couple of years ago and he's dropped this one. So Dean mentioned that after he broke up with a girlfriend, he went to his brother's house. His brother handed him a glass of whiskey and said, "It's over, put the phone away, it will be all right."
Yeah.
Which is the chorus of this song. So technically, you'd have to say his brother wrote it. I would say not him, he's just song what his brother said. But then on the other hand, the song goes over territory that has literally been covered tens of thousands of times before in the
100%.
blandest way possible.
Yep.
So technically you'd say that nobody actually wrote this, as the ideas, both lyrically and musically, are just out there in the ether.
Yes.
Just existing.
Even the idea of doing a song like this in a sort of, intentionally kind of, not mawkish, but intentionally sort of mundane way in order to try and infuse, like you say, such a hackneyed old premise with something new.
He says mate in it too, to make it sound
that's what I
Australian.
mean.
Yeah.
And to like, even that idea was done by like years ago by the streets with like Dry Your Eyes, Mate, and Don't Mug Yourself, which are a similar thing, like someone sort of talking about the end of a relationship in a kind of as straightforward and kind of conversational way as possible in order to try and evince a bit more emotional stuff. But I mean, On the other hand, he is trying to express an actual emotion, and he can sing a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So by the standards of 2018, I'm calling this an unimpeachable masterpiece on the same level as The Last Supper or the Elgin Marbles been.
Correct.
I might be overreacting a bit. Let's see how the year progresses.
Look, I saw that he's doing a tour soon, Tom.
Okay.
At Grand Australia. He's playing the Margaret Court Arena right here in Melbourne, which holds 7,500 people. And ticket allocations are exhausted, i.e. sold out, which proves my theory that people like boring shit. So
That's true. I just hope that some of those people aren't confusing him with Dean Lucan, the Australian gold medal weightlifter from the 1984 Olympics.
Yeah, exactly.
7,000 of those people are going to be quite disappointed
For sure.
when he fails to lift,
Yeah.
20 kg above the head in each hand.
Or even Carl Lewis. They might come up and
Yes,
think
the
they're going to see a man
disgraced-
running very quickly
Yes.
on the track, and then they're going to be like, no, they haven't. So definitely. Or Parker Lewis, who can't lose,
He
obviously.
can't lose.
So-
I would rather see Parker Lewis than Dean Lewis,
Yeah.
but that's probably just me.
Absolutely. I was going to say Dean Jones, but then I think he's dead. So I believe, unfortunately, the ghost of Dean Jones at Margaret Court Arena, singing "Be Alright." What about the lyrics, Tom? They must be very good.
Sure. Written by Dean Lewis, not
Yep.
Dean Lucan or Carl Lewis,
Yep.
and John Hume, who's also worked with, he's done some other work with Dean Lewis, but also worked with luminaries such as Guy Sebastian, Kyle Lionheart, Callum Scott, Jai Waitford, J.P. Cooper, Spencer Ludwig, Darren Criss, El King, Kira Puru, Mr. Hudson, Nadine Coyle, Francisco Martin, Busby Maru, Diddery, Little C, Haywood, Lonely Disco, Ivy Adara, and Jake Shears on his eternal classic Big Bushy Moustache.
All the big names.
Yeah, all the big names. John and Dean wrote a simple story of betrayal and heartbreak, which is basically the musical equivalent of that guy who says there's plenty more fish in the sea, you'll meet someone new and just be yourself, e.g. a useless git who needs to be pushed off a jetty.
Yeah.
I see him coming from a mile away, same thing that they all say, I want a big bushy moustache and a silky carpet with drapes to match. Oh, sorry, those are the lyrics from Big Bushy Moustache. Sorry. And then you say to me, you made a bit dumb mistake. You start to tremble and your voice begins to break. You say the cigarettes on the counter weren't your friends, they were my mates. And I feel the colour draining from my face. And my friend said, I know you love her, but it's over, mate. It doesn't matter, put the phone away. It's never easy to walk away, let her go, it'll be all right. Now, I'm assuming that this guy who's saying this isn't the same friend as the one who banged his girlfriend and left his cigarettes on the table. Because if it is, then we can only assume that Dean Lewis has just realised he's fully into cucking and should spend less time writing songs and more time down at Bunnings buying Google cameras and paintings with the eye holes cut out, I'm thinking.
Plot twist, Tom. I didn't see that.
That
coming,
would
but it
be
could
more interesting than this actual song, I think, if that was
Yeah.
the case. But yeah,
Exactly. Look, I was bored by this. This sucks.
it's boring. Yeah,
So, look, none for sale at the moment on Discogs. The last one did sell for $43, so people were feeling this. Dean Lewis has 23 million listeners on Spotify, which is insane.
that's
It's
more.
insane.
That's more than Childish Gambino in 5 Seconds of Summer. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
23 million, and he's got
Who the fuck
he's
is
got
buying
one
this?
hit that sucks, and another song that was the other one, Waves, was better than this. I
That's
will tell you
truly
that. But
weird.
fuck
He
no.
must have
I
an
don't know.
audience somewhere or something, because that Australia doesn't have the numbers to make up that. He must have an audience in
People must
another
be loved.
country.
I reckon it's off the back of everyone watching Grey's Anatomy, Tom. Everyone watching, I reckon, that Magnum PI reboot. That Magnum PI reboot, I think, is probably very popular. People watching that and
Sure.
going, "Oh, I really enjoy this guy." So it's he's got Magnum PI to thank.
Some of them were so inspired that they left the TV on and then ended up watching the next episode of the Hawaii Five-0 reboot, which led naturally into the Lethal Weapon TV show reboot.
Definitely.
Which
And the Knight Rider reboot. So, yeah. So yeah, don't have anything more to say about
No.
Dean Lewis.
For the love of
Don't know
God.
what he's doing now, but
Let's
he's
move
playing
on.
Margaret Court Arena soon. Don't try and get a ticket because they're sold out.
Yes.
So unfortunately. All right, up next is George Ezra with Shotgun. Tom.
5 weeks.
5 weeks. I'll be riding shotgun. This is a kind of song that I can see some dude playing an acoustic cover set
Yeah.
at a suburban
Exactly,
pub
yeah.
on a Sunday, sandwiched between a Jack Johnson song and something from Pearl Jam to a group
Yeah.
of people that do not want or need a dude to be playing acoustic covers
Yeah.
in the beer garden while they eat a $28 chicken parma, extremely hungover from the night before. This is sort of the vibe I'm getting off this song.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep.
It sounds to me like a British guy who talks about backpacking too much, which might explain why this was also a number one hit in the UK and Ireland, where they just can't get enough of 25-year-olds on a work travel visa with a lot of Jack Johnson in their iPhones and an easygoing approach to venereal diseases.
Correct.
You know, it's their favourite thing in the whole world. Seriously though, these songs are common enough on the UK charts that I have to ask, like, in all seriousness, do you reckon you can get an easy hit in the UK by just releasing a song in winter that's about going on holiday somewhere where the sun comes out occasionally?
You probably could. You mentioned the sun or something summery, and
I mean, that's all this is. It's just about sort of going on holiday, basically. Like,
But he does have the sort of novelty riding shotgun lyric. You know, I'll be riding shotgun. Sorry, when I say novelty, I mean that I don't think I've heard it used in a chorus before.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
it's a weird turn of. I mean, it's not even a weird. He's got an unusual voice, sort of, or vocal affect. Anyway, he's got a kind of deep.
Yeah.
Sort of. He makes a real meal of the chorus.
Yeah, it does.
I like the sun idea. Like, if so, we could get rich, with this kind of thing.
Doing summer songs over there,
Yeah, and I want someone to pay me to sit in a hammock in far north Queensland, knocking out one lazy acoustic album each year about eating fresh fruit for breakfast and not having to inject vitamin D between my toes to make it through 9 months of winter.
Absolutely. I'm working on a Tropical House album, Tom, so maybe we can drop that. I might drop that in the British winter. We're going places, I think. Absolutely.
A little bit of UK funky mixed in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Lead single, Deep Dickin' in the USA. It's a play on the French kissing in the USA, but I think it's going to work out very well with a summery vibe to it. So absolutely.
I like that Jimmy Buffett idea of you basically pay an audience of not very discerning people who are quite happy to listen to the same album for 6 months every year. Basically, you get them to pay your retirement so you can just go and hang out on the beach somewhere. I mean,
absolutely.
What's not to like?
Yep.
Look, anyway, I found this, I was relieved by this song, Ben, because after briefly visiting the arena of songs about emotion experienced by a human being at some point, it's nice to get back into the inch-deep, piss-filled kids pool of songs about fuck all by dickheads with heavily affected voices.
Yeah.
Ezra cites Bob Dylan, Woody Guthrie and James Balin as his main musical influences.
Yep.
The Financial Times described it as music that, quote, approximates rock, but without any hint of danger or unpredictability, which is not bad for a financial magazine. Similarly, Ezra said he got his unusual voice after he listened to a Lead Belly Greatest Hits record and tried to sing like the vocalist. Quote, on the back of the record, it said his voice was so big you had to turn your record player down, Ezra said. I liked the idea of singing with a big voice, so I tried it, and I could. How did you feel about it, George's big voice, Ben? Did you turn your record player down?
I like the big voice, Tom, so I think it really cut through because what was happening underneath, it was so unmemorable that at least the voice does stick out somewhat.
Look, I found his voice was so big that I put my laptop on the floor, took a shit on it, closed the lid firmly and threw it on a bonfire. On the other hand, it was running Windows, so I can't entirely blame George Ezra's huge voice for that. But I take your point. I feel like, his big voice is the only thing that sets this apart.
Without him going, riding shotgun. It's
Yeah,
kind of
and as we now know, that was just an affectation that he decided after listening to someone else's album.
Yeah, exactly.
On the other hand, I mean, he can do it. Fair play to him. He is actually doing it. It's not a computer doing it for him, but anyway.
Yeah, now, Tom, look, I have indicated on this podcast before that there's usually 3 reasons why bands are terrible, and that sort of expands into, I think, sort of musicians.
Don't remind us quickly, because I think this is
they don't practice enough. So they're unable to play their instrument to a good enough standard. 2, they can't write anything original or good. They might have the ability to play something, but they're just unable to craft an original song. 3, terrible influences, Tom.
Yes, they've got the talent. They can write songs, but
terrible
their favourite
influences
bands are shit.
So it just turns out to be dog shit. Now, I knew that George was going to be good. Off the basis of my category here, and I looked through the list and I said, don't practice enough. Now, apparently he took up guitar at the age of 11, I think. Said he'd practiced quite a lot so that he could get the sort of skill set that he needed. When it comes to sort of songwriting, he said that, look, I don't have a lot of lived experiences myself. I don't really want to write a song about being a guy from a small town, so he did a lot of travelling around Europe and sort of wrote down everything that he saw, because he thought no matter how mundane it is, he might be able to sort of craft that into some unique narratives. So I thought, okay, he's practiced, that's okay. He sounds like he can probably write a song based on his ability to weave a narrative somewhat.
Sure.
And as you said, he sort of had that sort of Howling Wolf and Lead Belly influences that you don't sort of hear that much. And then obviously what really captured my attention and cemented the idea that his material would be of a high standard was that you got to think that everyone has a start in music, Tom. Everyone starts somewhere. Everyone has that sort of first band. And I think that sort of first band can sort of plant the seed of where you end up going in the future, Tom.
Yes.
So I knew that he was going to be quite a good musician and someone that I would be following his career with, I think quite closely when I found out that he started his career in a Wheatus tribute band, Tom. Singing the girl parts on the song Teenage Dirtbag, quote, I used to dress up as well. I used to take my sister's eyeliner and wear her skinny jeans. It was slightly embarrassing, really. Now, a Wheatus tribute band is, I think, Tom, a rite of passage in the music industry. And for those that are involved in that, as a sort of start point, I think that you do the Wheatus tribute band, and then, you really go on to bigger things. I think if we asked Ed Sheeran and said, where did you get your start? I'm sure he'd say, I was in a Wheatus tribute band. Taylor Swift, the same thing. I'm sure if we went to the Madden Brothers and said, were you in any bands before Good Charlotte? I'm sure they'd say, yeah, we're in a Wheatus tribute band.
Yeah.
I think if you went to Axl Rose and said Guns N' Roses are one of the biggest bands on the planet, what did you do before that? Can you remember your first band? I'm sure Axl would say, yeah, I was in a Wheatus tribute band. I reckon if you went to Paul McCartney and said, Paul, the Beatles are probably the biggest band on the planet that have ever existed. Can you tell me about where you got started? And I'm sure Paul would say, yeah, I was in a Wheatus tribute band. I used to dress up as well. I used to take my sister's eyeliner and wear her skinny jeans. So I think whether it's Paul McCartney, Axl Rose, the Madden Brothers, I think everybody sort of probably got their start, well, definitely got their start in a Wheatus tribute band. And I think that if I had any advice for young musicians these days that are just starting out, what I'd say is if you're in a band with your friends, you've written a few original songs, you think you're going places, you've got a few gigs, put that on ice, put that on hold, start a Wheatus tribute band. Do that for 4, 5, 6 years. Just pumping out the Wheatus covers, the Wheatus tribute. Get your sister's eyeliner, get her skinny jeans. Put that on, do that 6, 7, 8 years. You do that, you put in the hard yards, and then everyone that has seen you in that Wheatus tribute band will know that your next musical act after the Wheatus tribute band will be amazing. So I think that's what you got to do. Start with a Wheatus tribute band. Go from there. You'll be huge, just like George Ezra and Axl Rose and Paul McCartney and all before him.
The funny thing is, I mean, apart from the the hilarious prospect of all of those bands who are actually very interesting performing in a boring Swedish tribute band, is that by comparison, like I did plenty of in-depth research on George Ezra for this podcast, as I always do with all artists, and that I managed to miss out on that fact, and that is by far more interesting than anything I managed to turn up. I think, by contrast to every single other artist you mentioned, in George Ezra's case, briefly getting into drag to do one part of a song in one song in a Wheatus tribute album might be the most interesting thing he's ever done. Because it certainly wasn't going backpacking, which every single person in the fucking Western world outside of the middle of America does when they hit 20, you know.
Yep.
Oh, I'm writing stuff down in case I become a songwriter. I mean, Jesus, Harold Christ.
If someone, you know, had a gun to my head and said, would you rather watch George Ezra perform Shotgun or a Wheatus tribute act cover of, you know, Teenage Dirtbag with him doing the girl parts in his sister's eyeliner and skinny jeans, you'd take the latter.
Oh, absolutely. And I would take either of those two things over having to try and read a book on my own and nursing a beer at a table in a backpackers while having to listen to George Ezra at the next table loudly try and tune a chick by telling her for 3 hours about all the cool places around Europe that he went on his last holiday, which would make me want to chuck and jump out the window.
Look, I've been to Europe, I've stayed in backpackers, I've seen dudes there with acoustic guitars. They are the worst people at all of those places. And the problem is that 1 in 1,000 must turn out to be George Ezra, and it's just like, fucking hell, I hate that cunt. It's often someone from like South America or Spain as well that sort of has a flamenco guitar thing, which to their, look, I'm not shitting on those guys, it's just like, look, I find that a little bit annoying, I'm just trying to chill out, don't necessarily need to hear that.
It's impressive that he taught himself to play guitar at 11. That's impressive, but you know. It
was a Wheatus tribute band, I think, Tom, that sort of forced his hand there. He said, I can't do this forever.
All too often you end up with a Dean Lewis or a George Ezra or a Passenger who we previously discussed.
Jesus.
You know, these kind of travellers who end up, you know, Persistence is not always a blessing, I have to say, at least not for the people around you.
Absolutely. Now, look, I also find, Tom, that the most interesting musicians, those that do the most interesting stuff outside of music, tend to create the best art because they've sort of got a lot more experiences to draw on and can sort of put that into their work. And George included, obviously, in his free time, he likes to do jigsaw puzzles. So I figured that sort of the use of but Tom, you're not listening to me. I'm saying that that sort of experience that he's able to draw from that experience of putting the puzzle pieces together, he's able to do that. He's able to take that experience, weave it into the narrative of the song, and produce something quite good. Look, I don't know, but I reckon he could knock out a 500-piece vulgar display of power puzzle before lunchtime, and then he can take that experience, draw on it, and put that into his songs, I think. So.
I feel like, off the top of my head, I would guess that George Ezra is the kind of person who, when he's picking out a jigsaw puzzle to do for, you know, some high-end Friday night entertainment, you know, he's one of those people that picks a jigsaw puzzle that's just like spaghetti, you know, or like a close-up of a basket of popcorn or a big bowl of Smarties where... Yeah. Anyway,
he probably has the Spaghetti Incident album cover to do. I think.
Too interesting.
But the thing is, Tom, that he doesn't actually choose them himself because his friends get them from charity shops and drop them over at his house.
Oh my fucking God.
So
seriously, I'm struggling to stay awake. Can you tell me that story about the Wheatus cover band again? Jesus fucking Christ.
He's got 16 million listeners on Spotify. So it's something. I think something's gone wrong with Spotify. These figures, okay, I better check them again. And $39 for this on Discogs, which is insane. So don't do that. Any good lyrics?
Homegrown alligator. See you later. That's not an expression. Gotta hit the road, gotta hit the road. Something changed in the atmosphere. Architecture unfamiliar. I could get used to this. Time flies by in the yellow and green. No idea what that means. Stick around and you'll see what I mean. I just did and I still don't. There's a mountaintop that I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone.
Yeah.
So he's dreaming of being a passenger in a nameless person's Hyundai XL, driving over a mountain range from the UK to South America, where he wants to go, as he later says, deep sea diving 24 hours a day, and drink shandy. So pretty standard UK tourist. Doesn't mention in the lyrics, but we can safely assume he's got a lobster red tank top outline permanently burned into his skin, a pending assault conviction, and one small diamond ear stud.
Yep.
So yeah, all of this combined will make him feel like, quote, a someone, apparently. I'd say he's got self-esteem issues and, like half the people on dating websites, needs to stop mistaking going on holiday for having a fucking personality.
Yeah, you'll also be eating exclusively out of service stations, I think, Tom.
Oh,
you'll find,
100%, yes.
So yeah, look, do you have anything else to say about this one?
No, I don't.
It's terrible. Terrible. Look, up next, Tom, for how many weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Only 3 weeks.
3 weeks. It's Lady Gaga, this time teaming up with, or is it Lady Gaga versus Bradley Cooper, Junkie XL style. So
I think they went with the and instead of
Bradley
X,
Cooper.
the more common X with Shallow.
Shallow.
Yes.
Now, people really liked A Star Is Born, it would seem.
They sure did. It's been, I think this is the third time this has been made into a film, although it's such a very basic plot that arguing what constitutes... It was famous, there was a previous one with... in the 70s, which was, a literal translation, but there have also been, I think, earlier versions as well.
Yeah, I think this is the third film adaptation, and it was probably based on a book or play or some shit.
Yeah, and other films have.
But you're right; it is the most basic story.
Yeah, it's basically just an old famous guy passes the torch to a young famous chick. Yeah. That's all. One's on the way up, one's on the way down. You could argue that, for instance, Zoolander tells a similar story with Derek Zoolander and Owen Wilson's characters, one on the way up, one on the way down.
It's basically like saying any sort of rival gangs story is a direct reference to Shakespeare.
Yeah, or any sort of musician making it.
Yep.
And then an old person resents them a bit, and then they give them advice, kind of.
Anyway, so that's the film. People obviously liked it. Do you prefer this version or the Garth Brooks cover with Trisha Yearwood?
Well, obviously, the cover is always better than the original.
And interestingly, Tom, Garth Brooks does the Lady Gaga parts, and Trisha Yearwood does the Bradley Cooper parts.
Nice.
Just a sort of a new twist on an old classic.
Sure. I think I'll wait for Garth Brooks' alter ego to release a cover version with
now,
the chick from Sixpence None the Richer, let's say. Sure. So this is our one official big movie song of the year, although, much less common these days, but it was a big hit. Like, this was... The 3 weeks doesn't really reflect how much cultural impact this had, this was a big thing. Like,
Star Is Born was one of the biggest films of the year, I dare say.
This won shitloads.
It won the Academy Award for Best Original Song and probably a heap of other shit that you might reference. But actually, interestingly, the song in the US only made it to number 20 on the charts, and then Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper performed this live at the Academy Awards, and then that projected it. Everyone just went, "Oh, better stream that," and then went straight to number one, and obviously here in Australia too. So look, big song, big film. There you go.
The whole soundtrack album is credited to Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, which is even more unusual, really. I can't think of the last time that's happened, really. The two stars of a film performing the whole soundtrack together. It's not all originals or covers, and obviously they didn't write all of the songs, although they did work on some of them. I think Bradley Cooper has a sort of, he's got a touch of the Keanu Dogstar want to be in a band thing, and obviously Lady Gaga's had a hit or two. I don't know, maybe Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton for the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas soundtrack. I mean, it worked though, as you say, in the year the album a year after this, the album had sold 6 million copies, so 6 times platinum worldwide, that is, and 2.7 million equivalent album units in the United States. Although you're getting into what equivalent albm units means, but Have you seen the film? What did you make of it?
I've not seen the film, Tom. You know that I have a blanket ban on all remakes. So I refuse to watch any remake. So sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But I've not seen this.
Did you prefer the previous one?
I've not seen that either.
70s version.
Not seen any of them.
I caught that recently, some of it anyway.
How was it?
Well, I tell you what, the white-hot sexual chemistry between Barbara Streisand and Whistler from Blade was very, very... they meet, they have a real, that meet cute, that term, sort of Richard Curtis style. Oh, came around a corner too fast, bumped into her with her shopping. Oh, no, there's cans going everywhere. Oh, I'm doing witty dialogue and stuff. Their meet cute is more like... extremely pissed and aggressive Chris Christopherson runs off from his taxi down into a basement bar, which is obviously a black people bar.
Yep.
And for some reason on stage, Barbara Streisand is fronting a sort of kind of not doo-wop, but like a girl group, like a sort of Phil Spector style girl group doing a sort of honky tonk thing. She's probably the only white person in the bar. They've adopted her as their mascot for reasons known to them. Chris Christopherson pushes his way to the front of stage, sits down, is immediately loud, pissed and annoying and interrupts the song, not with funny dialogue, just by being a loud, drunk, irritating cunt. Then he causes a large fight in the bar, which means that everything goes to shit. The cops come in, someone gets smashed in the face with beer bottles, a bunch of people get assaulted, and he staggers out the back, shit-faced. His own management clearly hate him and don't like him at all. And so, after that, she just can't wait to get some of that Whistler cock. It's
good times.
Who doesn't want to be with that guy?
Absolutely. Now, was it better than this version? Sounds like there's more fights.
I would say it was more interesting in the sense that they, but look, what people thought that men and women wanted from each other in the 70s is a bit fucking mystifying.
Somewhat different,
but,
absolutely.
I don't know. Look, this one's a lot more polished.
For sure.
Even its deliberate, unpolished areas seem a bit polished.
Yeah.
I think I much prefer the song Maybe It's Time from the soundtrack, which is a sort of simple one that he sings in a drag club, which is closing when just someone says, here, just play a song, and he says, no, I don't want to play a song, and they go, oh, come on. So he just gets up, there's like two people left, and he sort of just plays this kind of smaller song.
Cool.
And it's a lot less sort of thematically narcissistic than this one.
Yep.
I don't actually hate this.
No,
I've got to admit. It's probably the closest thing we've had to an actual power ballad for about a decade.
That's what I was going to say.
And I like both of their voices. They're not terrible. It irks me a little bit because I feel like it could have used a few more passes to make it really great.
Yep.
Not necessarily more polished, just a bit better. But that's
Yep.
Also, I will resist the Generation X urge to say that the Pearl Jam song Deep does this song better and sounds like death metal by comparison, because that would be lame, and there's more to music than balls, distortion, and how good something sounds when you're drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're drunk when there isn't.
Look, I was actually going to say this seems like the perfect song for the film, probably, as the single that sort of came out, and it was a big thing, and you're right, it is a power ballad, as close as you get to a power ballad in 2018. You just need Slash should have popped up at the end and did a guitar solo. I think that would have been pretty cool.
It builds to a vocal crescendo, though, and
yeah, absolutely. And look, from what I read, Bradley Cooper took singing lessons for 18 months or something before the film.
Okay, so he took it seriously.
And did piano and guitar lessons 5 days a week for 6 months before filming the film.
When him on stage, like there's him on stage with a real giant audience, and he looks like comfortable on the stage. He doesn't look like he's either awkward or like being an actor playing a guy. He looks like a guy who's done it before,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is kind of cool.
So he sort of taught himself that over a period of time to make sure that he was able to sort of get out there and do this. He obviously directed this as well, so like that was a pretty big step for him. I think people were probably like, I think this was his directorial debut, so to sort of say, I'm going to do this film, and people were like, oh, dude, you're doing something that's already been done before. If you fuck it up, everyone will be pissed at you. So it seems like he was able to do it successfully, and I haven't seen it, but successfully enough that won a lot of awards, a lot of people liked it, so that was pretty good. So, good on him for doing that, because a lot of actors would just be, you're playing a musician in a film, they'd just dial it in. They'd just basically come up and go, I'll just mime playing the guitar and I'll get someone else to do the singing parts. But he actually sounds like that he was completely involved in the whole process. So power to that. But one thing, do you want to live in a world where Bradley Cooper has more ARIA number ones than David Bowie?
Yeah, it's not fair, is it? This is the kind of stuff that demonstrates that awards shows are bollocks. Like, fucking Post Malone being the second most popular rapper on the Billboard charts or whatever. Like, you can't judge these things by that. But I take your point. I do. I mean, I credit to them for, I will say, because it's kind of hard to explain, but what I mean, but this song was sort of consciously written to fill this exact role, both within the film and within the context of the film, but also outside of the film. It's like it's written to be the big showstopper song in the movie, but it's also written to be like the single that's going to sell the soundtrack.
Exactly.
And it's also written to sort of convince people that who haven't seen the film yet that Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga can realistically do a song together that sounds like, and his voice sounds kind of gravelly and old, which is like the character he's supposed to be. And referring to what I was saying before, like with the lyrics, the lyrics aren't terrible, but in the grand tradition of sort of overblown 80s movie songs, they basically explain the relationship problems of the main characters in a way that doesn't really make sense narratively in the course of the film.
Yes.
Like, it just, because it's supposed to be them diegetically coming up with a song when you watch the film, but it works when you listen to it later, or if you listen to it like, say, Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters as a song that basically tells you what's going to happen in the film if you go and see the movie.
Exactly.
Or of course, what is it? The one from Ghostbusters 2 by Bobby Brown. Very, very in detail tells you exactly what's going to happen.
Is this the best sort of actor and musician duet since Huey Lewison teamed up with Gwyneth Paltrow for Cruisin'?
Fuck me. I forgot about
Probably. I'd say this is on Cruisin' level, isn't it? Yep. This is at least as good as Cruisin', if not better. So, look, I think in terms of, as I said, I haven't seen the film, but I think the song, it's definitely a good song for the soundtrack. So
I mean, sort of, even if you don't like it, you've got to admit that it succeeds on those things. Like I said, and all those bits that it was trying to achieve, it did achieve.
Well, it serves 3 or 4 purposes, as you said. It sort of drives the narrative in the film. I think this is the bit where they perform together for the first time or something, isn't it? So there's that sort of that they needed a good song to sort of, like obviously the narrative of the film of them getting up and performing together and whatnot, great, but they couldn't just get up and do a cover of something. I think it had to be an original song. That's right. Had to be a good enough song that people are like involved in it, and then as you said, it also outside of the film world had to sell a physical soundtrack and convince people, become a hit, and then it was a marketing tool. As a team. So succeeded on all levels. So well done to those guys. You got anything else to say about this? The lyrics.
As I mentioned before, like I just feel like the lyrics could have used a tiny bit more work. When they were talking about it, they said that basically it sounded like I mean, it was a group effort. This one is credited to Andrew Wyatt, Anthony Rosamando, Mark Ronson, who from previous things, Downtown, and Lady Gaga. But it sounds like she did all the lyrical works. She just came in and sort of read them to them. Tell me something, boy. Aren't you tired trying to fill that void? Okay, that sort of suits the character's alcoholism and stuff like that. Or do you need more? Ain't it hard keeping it so hardcore? Now, do you need more is lazy and it doesn't quite work. Like, needing more isn't his problem. He's dying of excess and has seen too much of the rock star life, And that last line is cringy. Like, even if you're desperate to use both of the hards, then to keep it so hardcore or being so hardcore would just scan better lyrically and sound less like outdated hip-hop lingo, which is not something that suits the characters or the movie. Like, that's not part of the film. I'm off the deep end, watch as I dive in, I'll never meet the ground. I think she means bottom, which is what you call the ground when you're in the water, but clearly couldn't work out a rhyme for bottom, and I mean, it's a weird word to rhyme. Crash through the surface where they can't hurt us. We're far from the shallow now. In the shallow, etc. Again, like, it works in the sense that you know what she's talking about. But someone could have just said to her, the shallow isn't a thing, it's the shallows. Just say the shallows instead. But she doesn't. When you listen to it, she keeps saying, we're far from the shallow now. Also, if you end every chorus with, we're far from the shallows now, then it sounds dumb to immediately say, in the shallows 20 times straight afterwards. Like, maybe try not in the shallows or just repeat The Shallows instead of, or The fucking Deep End, which is what you're actually talking about.
Yep.
So she says, we're far from the shallows now, then repeats in the shallows over and over again. Like, this is what I mean. It's just like, there are just a few little bits that could have made it just sort of really like, you know, timeless, I suppose, in a sort of, at least, kind of classic rock sense. But, you know, hey.
Now, I did read something that said that, I don't know what happens at the end of the film, but in I think an early script, or there was something that Lady Gaga had mentioned, something along the lines of originally the Bradley Cooper character at the end of the film was going to drown in shallow water or something like that. Did that happen in the film?
I can't remember.
Yeah, but let's assume it didn't. Let's assume that it was because I think it was mentioned that was something that was going to happen. So I think it probably didn't happen. So would that have made this song better or worse if you had gone in the shallow and drowned?
In the metaphor is solid. Like she's saying, we're both out of our depth. Yep. Me because I'm young and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You because you're old and you're lost and coming apart.
Yep.
But we're clinging to each other out past the bottom. We can't touch the bottom, as they say in that Pearl Jam song. We're in too deep. We can't touch the bottom. But then she keeps reiterating the shallows, which is not where you are. You're over here. And then she also keeps saying, in the shallow, which is not a thing. It's the shallows. It's not the... anyway.
Yeah. Because I actually think it probably would have been better... I agree with you if it had have been, tell me something, girl. Are you happy in this modern world? Or do you need more? I'll be riding shotgun out into the hot sun. I think that probably would have been better.
Maybe you should have just gone for a drive or something. Yeah, like clearly it solves half your problems.
I'll be riding shotgun in the hot sun, and then at the end of the film, he falls asleep outside and gets burned dies with sunstroke or something because he was too drunk.
That's right. He falls asleep in a beer garden.
Yeah,
you know
that would have been good.
Listening to a backpackers and dies of alcohol.
Exactly. Lady Gaga, 59 million. That's a lot. We know that. She's got heaps of fans. Bradley Cooper, 14 million. Not bad for a part-time musician.
No.
He's mostly actor and director and stuff, but he just has done a couple of songs on the side, 14 mil. None for sale on Discogs, but the last one that sold of this did sell for $61.
Okay,
so keep your eye. They're all fucking soundtrack. For the single. I think you can probably buy the CD single of that. Okay. The actual soundtrack itself, you probably right and pick that up for about $5. Don't know. All right. Anything else to say about that?
No. What's up next?
Oh, up next for the second time this year, she's back. It's Ariana Grande. Thank You, spelt with just the letter U. Next.
Sure.
Second number one for the year.
Yes.
And this is off the album of the same name, Thank You Next, which is actually the second album she's released in 2018, because the other song we talked about before was off her previous album, Sweetener, which was released only 6 months earlier. So she's dropped 2 albums in 2018. Prolific.
If you're a A-list AAA pop star these days, you've got to be like those old... You know, the Phil Spector people, you've got to be cranking out albums. None of this, I'm going to, spend 5 years crafting my next masterpiece. You've got to be, like we were saying before with Taylor Swift, like taking a break for 11 months counts as a a journey through the wilderness. Oh, what's she going to look like when she comes back?
Exactly the same it would turn out, but this
debuted at number 1 on the Billboard chart, instantly becoming her first number 1 hit, although she'd had 10 entries in the top 10 previously.
Okay.
As you said, personally I liked her previous biggest hit, the number 2 song, Problem with Iggy Azalea, better, mostly just because it's got horns in it that mean you can actually dance to it.
A lot of saxophone in that. Absolutely.
What are you supposed to do this song? What you're supposed to do this song, I have no idea. Stand at a perfume counter, jack off at a perfume counter. I don't know, but Ariana Grande frustrates me, Ben, and I think I've figured out why.
Why's that?
She can sing, certainly in a frilly, contemporary, X Factor sort of pop star kind of way, and her voice certainly isn't hard to listen to, even in a song as mediocre as this.
Yep.
But if you can hum any part of this song other than the title, I'll give you 85 Australian dollars right now.
Thank you, next. Thank you, next.
That's the title.
Thank you, next. I'm so fucking thankful for my ex or something like that.
That's not the melody. It's just
terrible.
Look, so I asked my friend Ben Reason, who is an ex-professional opera singer, now music teacher, married to an ex-professional opera singer.
Yep.
After I mowed his lawn so he would listen to the song, I asked him why the vocals were irritating despite being performed with talent, like I just said.
Yep.
And he said, for me, in an effort to sound sexy, she grips the start of each note, but doesn't have to, as it's quite a high voice naturally. When the pressure comes off, quite a nice sound emerges, which she stops immediately or blurs into more breathy shit, which I'm sure she thinks sounds sexy or passionate or something. So what you have left is about 90% mannerism and 10% actual singing.
There you go.
That's fine if you're Tom Waits, but unlike him, her real voice could be very pretty, but we never get to find out thanks to this frustrating, ungenerous vocal wanketry. So that was his professional diagnosis.
Fantastic. It's good to have some actual professional opinion on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you sort of instinctively kind of get that from this. Like, it sounds like it's overproduced.
I get what he's saying, that
within an inch of its life.
Doesn't give her the chance to... She's like, how can I sound sexy rather than just why don't you just sing it? As you
Yes, or how can I sound sort of hip-hop? But then that just means the chorus doesn't leave any impression because it's half just kind of Drake mumble shit, you know, like, which she's not a rapper, she's not a hip hop person. Why is she doing that? But
for sure.
Anyway.
So this song was written when Ariana was in a relationship with Pete Davidson, Tom, who, you know, I guess we can honestly say is an incredibly mediocre comedian who fucks well above his weight. I think that goes without saying.
To the point where you start to wonder if he's got the world's first vibrating penis or something. I mean, anyway.
Yeah, so I've certainly seen some of his material live, and I don't know whether guy talking counts as comedy when there's no jokes or anything in there, but just saying references to like, and then I go on Twitter and Kanye's saying something about me, and it's just like, that's not material.
Yep.
Terrible. Anyway, look, but this song, it's a new take on the breakup genre, Tom, because.
Yeah, it's
usually most, you know, if we flash back to Dean Lewis, his breakup song was like, you know, you've dicked my friend or something. You've been deep dicked by some friends of mine.
Very kind of general.
And now I'm like upset and get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see you anymore. And, you know, I'm all mad about that. You know, we usually get that sort of, you know, fuck you, don't like you. But this is more of a reflective breakup song, Tom, with Ariana acknowledging that while the relationships that she's been in the past have not worked out, you still grow as a person. You learn things.
Yes.
You get to be different as a part of that relationship, and she's thanking her ex-partners for, even though that perhaps, you know, they didn't see it eye to eye on enough things for them to stay together long term, she's taken something away from that. She's taken away the positives from the failed relationships, and she's thanked the ex-partners before moving on to a new partner. So, for example, Tom, from what I understand, Ariana Grande, before she was in a relationship with Pete Davidson, when she went to KFC, she would always get a 3-piece feed. Now, after dating Pete Davidson, he alerted her to the fact that you probably want to get a zinger stacker combo with some wicked wings.
Yes.
So now, that's what she does. Yeah. So she's saying, our relationship didn't work out, but I've grown as a person. Yeah. You know, I'm a better person. I've acknowledged that. I've changed. I've learned. Thank you for that component. Yes. Next, she used to think that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time, was the best film in the original trilogy. Pete Davidson said, wait, watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. It's got Vanilla Ice in there.
Superior
and then they've broken up, and once again, now she's grown as a person. She's better than that. So she's thanked her ex-partners for showing her stuff and learning and whatnot. And, you know, look, I'm sure it's the same if you dated, say, Daniel Johns. You might break up, might not last forever, but then you just, like, at the end of that, as alleged by a certain newspaper, perhaps Ariana would be like, now I'm really into brown showers.
That's right.
She's learnt, she's taken something new, she's grown as a person. So the relationships give you a chance to learn something from somebody that you might not have known about yourself before. So that's what that song's about.
I will say, this is one of those things where it's hard to tell if it's on purpose or not. Did you think I thought, unlike anything else in any of the other songs that we've talked about this year by her, there was a tiny bit of interesting ambiguity in the way that "Thank You Next" could be taken to mean either "thank you" genuinely, like, but I'm moving on, but it can also mean
fuck you,
get out of there.
Yep.
Like I couldn't tell whether that was like intentional ambiguity or just a kind of disinterest in lyrical specificity.
I think it's the first one, because she does, in the other lyrics in the song, she's like, I'd like to thank, I can't remember all the people's names, but I'd like to thank Mickey for teaching me love. I'd like to thank
and her tone
Stevie
is kind of
forgiven. So it sounded. Yeah, you're right. It could be easy to think, she's being ironic or sarcastic, but I think there was sort of like an earnestness, and she was genuinely thanking the people.
I think so, but I reckon she has deliberately left that bit of ambiguity, which is kind of, that's not terrible. That's not a bad title.
Because the song got a lot of praise. I mean, I don't think it's a great song, but it got a lot of year end sort of like best song of the year, and and a lot of people were saying how good it was because it was a new take on this sort of thing of thanking people in relationships.
You could say it's certainly more, by her standards, it's more interesting and sort of confessional than a lot of her stuff, like, say, one of her previous hits, Got Me Walking Side to Side, which is about a dude railing you so thoroughly that, you get a fucking UTI and can't walk straight. By that standards, this sounds like,
Shakespeare,
sort of
really.
Taylor Swift kind of, analysis of relationships and stuff.
And she takes that originality, Tom, and uses that as well in the music video, where she just references Mean Girls and Legally Blonde ad nauseum for about 50
like
scenes,
watching Not Another Teen Movie for 5 minutes.
Exactly.
It's like you say.
She's also doing this bit, you probably remember in the video, where she sort of lays on a bed, like sort of face down with her hands under her chin like that, and kicks her legs up and down on the bed.
Like a sort of 50s sort of thing.
She literally does that in the Problems video, and like 2 or 3 other ones that I've seen.
That's a brand.
I think so. Where to the point where I remember several years ago, my wife and I were watching Rage or something, and she's like, it's a new Ariana Grande song just came on. I wonder if she's going to be lying on a bed kicking her legs up and down. And 3 scenes in she was. It's like basically, I don't know whether it's a catch, sort of the thing that she does, but it's just like, what are we going to do here? I might lie on a bed and just kick my legs up and down. Fuck, do that. Awesome. So
I take your point. It's the video's by Hannah Lux Davis. And like you say, it largely seems to be an excuse for Grande to indulge in a bunch of Mean Girls cosplay fanfic. Personally, I had her pegged more as the chick who keeps trying to make fetch happen, but I can't really blame her for the cosplay part. I mean, let's not forget that every hard-faced gangster in the hip-hop scene spent the first 5 years of the millennium pretending to be Trinity in the Matrix. So women should get to have a go as well, if they want to. I mean, it's kind of, you could say it's just no more or less interesting than, I don't know, Fergie dressed in a PVC tank top pouring milk on her cans or whatever. Exactly. They can't resist making her the kind of star. Like, there would be a way of doing this where you could have her portraying the kind of the dorky, the clumsy hot girl scenes from these movies and make her seem relatable, but instead they make her, she clearly sees herself as the hot, evil bitch, which just doesn't make her very likeable. It's sort of,
No, look, she did resist the temptation to put on the glasses and do the Freddie Prinze Jr. She's All That type scenario. That would have been another one she could have referenced. But the thing is, I like the fact that she did do sort of the Mean Girls, Legally Blonde, but I think for me it would have been a more interesting video clip, and probably would have tied in better with the sort of concepts that she used with this sort of thanking of past relationships and this sort of new take on that sort of breakup song, Tom. If for the video she had have probably referenced more along the lines of something, say, Ghoulies Go to College, I think, would have been a lot better, I think.
Or the 1980 horror classic New Year's Evil, perhaps.
So, definitely.
Put on the new wave gear.
For sure. So, something to think about for next time, Ariana, New Year's Evil or Ghoulies Go to College.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Anything else to say about this? Lyrical, spotlights, highlights.
Yeah, well, this is a song which is either about writing off past relationships, Taylor style, or being whimsically thankful for them, as we covered. Except, unlike Taylor, Ariana isn't afraid to name names. Thought I'd end up with Sean, but he wasn't a match. Ariana and Big Sean started dating in August 2014, released several songs together, then broke up a year later, claiming it was due to tour schedules. However, it was rumoured that they actually broke up over Sean's lyrics in his 2015 song Stay Down. I ain't even gonna lie, I got $1 million chick with $1 billion pussy. Every time I come, I swear to God, I feel like I be rich. Sounds like a compliment to me, Ben. I don't know if these bloody feminists, what do they want? Anyway, to proceed, wrote some songs about Ricky, Now I Listen and Laugh. That would be backup dancer Ricky Alvarez, who was the guy she was hanging out with when she went into that donut shop and sneeringly licked some of the stock and put it back, which even for a 22-year-old who looks 15 is some pretty contemptuous, immature bullshit. But even almost got married, and for Pete, I'm so thankful. Like her appropriation role model Kim Kardashian, Grande was once involved with Pete Davidson to the point where they got matching tattoos and were actually engaged, although she was sending him angry tweets the day after this song came out, so she can't be too thankful for him. And I wish I could say thank you to Malcolm because he was an angel. That would be Mac Miller, who she broke up with in 2018, citing his various addictions and toxic behaviours, which seems fair enough because he died 4 months later after an accidental OD of fentanyl and coke, aka the title of Post Malone's next album, I believe.
Absolutely.
But don't worry, because after 700 or 800 repetitions of the title, we get to the last verse where Grande reassures us that after a lot of troubles and tears, she's finally in a committed, healthy lesbian relationship, Ben, with herself.
Oh, that's good. Very, very
Were you
good.
relieved to find that out? That she's finger blasting herself to sleep every night instead of going out with a fentanyl addicted rapper or some guy who brags about how her $1 billion pussy makes his dick feel rich?
Well, I think if I was Ariana, I would be finger blasting myself to sleep every night because I had $1 billion pussy. You know what I mean? So
presumably while lying on a bed kicking your legs.
Kicking legs up and down. Because I think, what the ex-partner is basically, I mean, she's not going to find another $1 billion pussy. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I imagine they're scarce.
Props to her for like 4 name drops in an 8-line song.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and actually being not afraid to go, no, I don't care who people know I've gone out with. They can think what they fucking like.
I'm glad that you sort of were able to find out who those sources were. Because I thought Ricky was Tasmanian cricketer Ricky Ponting, so I was confused on that one.
But fair enough to see, especially once you heard that his album 6 and Out are getting back together, and that there's only 5 of them. So maybe she's thinking I could be the 6th.
Absolutely
I could
right.
be the 6th in 6 1 out.
I think for Ariana Grande to join a cricket themed band is the next logical step in her career. Now she's got 55.9 mil. We talked about that before. That's a fuck ton. This was only available on 7-inch, so we've gone full circle now,
again,
where people are only releasing them on Spotify and 7-inch.
For that touch of credibility. She clearly fucking needs.
So $63, the cheapest one of these will cost you. So that's quite significant.
Fuck that for a
all right, so done with that.
Yeah,
cool. So last song of the year, Tom, 31st of December for 1 week. It is. Here we go. Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Now, Tom, here we are. Would you consider this the upside of the streaming era?
I mean, normally I would have said no, but on the other hand, after what we've just been through, I'm having to ask myself, is it fucking what? 15-year-old Mariah Carey Christmas song, really 50% of the good songs for this entire year's top #1 spot? Because apart from this and 1 week of Childish Gambino, I'm thinking 2018, Mariah Carey, do your worst, love, because good Lord.
Yeah, now, This was originally recorded in 1994. So it's,
Sorry, not 15
25
years old, 25
years
old,
years
yeah.
old at this stage. Released on the Mariah Carey Christmas album. You know my love for a Christmas album, Tom.
Sure.
Whenever I see an artist do a Christmas album, I know they're going places. I know that, they're not just fulfilling their record contract, Tom. They're doing that because of a genuine love for Christmas, and I respect that. So at the time, the song peaked at number 2 in Australia back in 1994.
So it did nearly hit the number
It was
one.
not able to get over the Cranberries' Zombie, which was the number 1 song over the Christmas period of that year.
Good festive
Probably also around that time, I'd say the Adam featuring Amy cover, Eurodance cover of Zombie was probably out, which also made it doubly hard for Mariah Carey to get to the top of the charts there. So
And also features a chick finger
blasting herself in a car wash.
as we've established.
So fast forward 25 years later, and look, streaming being the dominant factor in determining which song reaches the number 1 song removes that need for a song to be new, I guess, because previously a new song would come out, the CDs go out in the shop, the kids buy the CD single, goes to number 1, but then obviously the CD single isn't in the shop forever. Once they're sold out, they stop making them at some stage.
It would occasionally happen, but it would require that the record company re-release a physical media.
And they
whereas
just didn't
now they
do that.
don't have to. The song, if enough people get it,
So yeah, exactly. So that's sort of, I guess, maybe, I'm going to say for this side, it's probably an upside of the streaming era, the fact that something can come out at any era, and if it goes viral,
or from any country,
from
as
any
we
country,
said
from
before,
any era, something goes viral, and then the next thing you know, it's back in the charts, even though it was released in 10, 20, 30, whatever the time was. So look, that's pretty interesting. Look, we don't usually do this in the podcast, Tom. We don't usually talk about what's going to happen in future episodes. We like to keep it going, guessing, the audience guessing. We don't, no spoilers, but I do feel that it's pertinent to point out, just for the context of this song, that from 2018 onwards, this song reaches the number 1 position on the charts every Christmas until present. So the next 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, so the next 4 years after this, end of the year, this is the number 1 song every year continuously. So... and may well be until civilization collapses.
What about Wham?
That's what I'm thinking, Tom. So look, I don't know. It's the popular Christmas song. It's the most popular Christmas song. Picks up a lot of streams, obviously, around this time of year. 24 years after its release, it hit number 1. But yeah, look, I'd like to think that. So it's been this song every single year, but as you said, what about Wham? Why is that not in the mix? Can't that be the number 1 song next year? Is it just that this Christmas song is... so most old Christmas songs are shithouse, dog shit.
Yeah, fucking oath.
They're all,
and most new
terrible.
Christmas songs are fucking awful too.
So is that sort of where Mariah Carey was just lucky enough to... Well, not lucky. She wrote the song and wrote a decent enough song that the bar is so low that it was better than all the dog shit that came before it, and somehow is better than all the dog shit that's came after it. So it just kind of is the best Christmas song now, even though it's not great. But is it top tier Christmas song?
It's really hard to say, isn't it? I mean, it's like if you're at home, for instance, saying to yourself, Jesus, any dickhead can write a Christmas song that hangs around like a bad smell.
Yep.
I think you're getting confused with any dickhead can sing a Christmas song, or possibly any dickhead can write a Christmas song that lasts for 3 minutes and is never heard from again.
Yep.
I mean, fuck, even half the Christmas songs that do somehow get superannuated into... the B tier of playlists and you hear in the shopping centre every fucking year are fucking terrible, even from a very basic songwriting perspective.
Yep.
Santa Baby is a gift list to your OnlyFans subscribers that goes for about 14 minutes. The Christmas Shoes is so fucking insane, Patton Oswalt did an entire routine about it. Little Drummer Boy is fan fiction about a time-travelling urchin from Victorian England. I saw Mummy kissing Santa Claus dates from an era when kids catching their parents fucking was considered acceptable narrative justification for the birth of a slasher movie franchise.
Yeah.
And anything from pretty much any pop boy band or girl group Christmas album is just, it's either shit covers of songs that sucked in the first place or shit attempts to write new versions of said songs.
Yep.
You know, even like something like Wham! Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart. I mean, even if the entire song turns on Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart and the very next day you gave it away, just writing 2 lines that decent enough to be fun enough to sing every year while not making you want to stab your relatives over the turkey, it counts as an achievement to me, you know. To get into that A tier, well, like you said, I don't know what the factor X is. I can't identify what it is that separates this from the B tier ones that are catchy, but I'm just saying, like, even if it's just that, like you say, they're so terrible that a mediocre one hits a level that they can't achieve. Like, a level of acceptable mediocrity is,
You're exactly right. Look, do you have a favourite Christmas song, Tom? Is there one that you prefer more than the others, or are they all just general trash?
Well, I mean, you could say that there's some stuff like, say, novelty stuff aside, or like heavy metal cover versions of stuff that's quite funny. I am partial to that song that is Moses versus Santa featuring Snoop Dogg is rap battle, but I mean that's kind of novelty song territory. But there's there's Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues that always gets played on alternative Christmas lists. But I mean, to use that as an example, that's actually a decent song that's got weird, interesting shit in it, lots of swearing, male versus female stuff. It tells a real weird, long story, but it's too odd for most people. You couldn't play that in the background at a shopping centre, you know. So I guess to hit that number one every year level, you've got to be, you know, just sort of at the perfect level of mediocrity.
I think so. Yeah, no, fair enough.
I mean, just a couple of other numbers just to, you know, underline what you were saying before. This was the first Christmas song to reach number one in Australia for 34 years.
Oh, wow.
The last one was Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid in 85. And that sucked as well. This is what I mean.
That was awful.
Yeah, no one plays that. People, you sometimes hear, what was the other one? Not Do They Know It's Christmas, the American one, you know, We Are the World. You sometimes hear that, but nobody plays Do They Know It's Fucking Christmas. It was also the oldest song to reach number one in the country this year, because it's 24 years since it came out. Carey's last number one in Australia was We Belong Together from 2005, and this is her third Australian number one. Yep. So, I think she's had more in America, but And she's certainly on the charts all the bloody time, but
Yeah, look, I do know what you mean. This sort of has that sort of perfect sort of, you're right, the perfect sort of mediocrity that it's not too...
It doesn't piss you off with repetition. It's not offensively stupid. Yeah.
Because I think that there's some songs that are probably too good Christmas songs, for example.
Like Fairy Tale of New York.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ice MC, It's a Rainy Day, Tom. Not enough fusion of the Christmas genre with ragamuffin, I dare say.
True.
Yeah, look, every Christmas I usually dust off the Bravo Dance Xmas compilation, released out of Germany in 1994, Tom, on East West. There's all kinds of great stuff on there. Real McCoy doing Shining Star, which is pretty good. Max, Power of Love. DJ Bobo, he's on there. And of Master Boy, one of my favourites. But I think it's not really... It's sort of... I usually save this just as, you know, just before you sort of serve up the sort of the meal and you're about to carve the turkey. Just as that's going to happen, you know, my kids will be like, Dad, can you put a song on? I'll be like, yep, no problem. And I'll put on Do You Hear What I Hear by La Bouche. And that sort of usually sets the scene.
I was going to ask what your favourite Eurodance Christmas song was, and it's good to hear that La Bouche is still kicking goals.
They are still keeping
well
it real.
into the present.
Yeah, now look, I'd say Mariah, she's definitely leaned into this sort of Christmas thing, no doubt. She picks up a decent Christmas bonus every year, with this. She also
'cause
co-wrote the
she's
song.
struggling for cash.
There were 2 music videos recorded at the time, the most popular being a sort of lo-fi home movie style Mariah dressed up as Santa thing where she's running around in the snow. I don't think Mariah particularly likes that video these days as it features her ex-husband. And look, she knows that the music's going to be played every year ad nauseum. So she actually filmed a new music video in 2019 for this song. So it does have a brand new video going. But look, the other co-writer of the song was Walter Afanasieff, who, Tom, you'd be familiar with as the writer of the theme from the 1996 film The Hunchback of Notre Dame, as performed by All For One. So certainly know that. But look, he seems to have really dialed back his work since 2018. He's only written 2 songs since then, according to his Wikipedia. Prior to that, he'd been rather prolific. And I dare say that the reason he's dialed back the work is that as of 2017, the song was reported to have earned $60 million in royalties. This alone. And it's reported that Carey makes $2.5 million a year just from this song.
Fucking hell.
So the money just rolls in each year. Now,
That's bonkers.
it is pretty crazy. Both of them have claimed that All I Want for Christmas Is You took a total of 15 minutes to write. So it's one of those, exactly.
Taxi Club.
Another one in the old Taxi Club.
There's also a version with Justin Bieber. They've done one of those. They've got a video as well. It's the super festive version, I guess, that distinguishes it from the only moderately festive one that she normally does.
And look, Mariah tried to get Queen of Christmas trademarked. That's
right. Yeah.
But, the court went, get the fuck out. So she was unable to get that. Apparently she was going to launch a range of merchandise. It was like Mariah Carey, Queen of Christmas.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. So alas, but there you go. So look, I don't know. We're going to have this song every year from now on, Tom, on the podcast. So if there's anything else you want to say now, you can. But if not, you can just, if there's anything that pops into your mind, each and every week we'll get a chance to discuss this song. So anything you want to say?
Well,
now,
then I'll limit myself to one verse. Then, just lyric wise. I think everybody knows the words, and they're not like a lot of Christmas songs. Like a lot of the popular Christmas songs, they're sort of too kind of mediocre to make too much fun of. There's nothing weird. It's like the little drummer boy going rump pump pump over and over again. I won't make a list and send it to the North Pole for Saint Nick. I won't even stay awake to hear those magic reindeer click.
Oh.
Did reindeer click? What is that?
It rhymes with Saint Nick, so I assume it's fine. Yeah. Fine. Guess it's good. Yeah.
I suppose at least, unlike Lady Gaga, she knows how many syllables a line in a song is supposed to have. But still, Saint Nick and click, that's not a great rhyme.
Yeah.
It's magic reindeer click. I suppose it's better than to see that giant Santa dick or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of those old songs like Santa Baby are just clearly about someone who wants to fuck Santa.
Oh, no doubt.
Much like that chick from the film Bad Santa who just has a sexual fetish for having sex with Santa, which, seeing as Santa is played by people's fathers, or as in the case of Santa Baby, their pimp, that leaves a few questions unanswered. But yeah, sure. Good work, Mariah. Kicking Goals being one of the 2 good songs for this entire fucking year on the top 10.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a fucking trash year.
Anyway.
There was so much garbage in that year. It was terrible.
17 weeks of Drake.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Australia? Come on.
Yeah. So, and even a couple of the biggest songs of the year to only reach number 2 were total trash. Florida Georgia Line featuring Bebe Rexha. Meant to Be, I don't know if you know that one.
I don't know that
one.
one.
Meant to be, yeah, baby, meant to be. Terrible bullshit. Another Post Malone song, I Fall Apart. And then Maroon 5 featuring Cardi B, Girls Like You. So it was just a fucking dumpster fire of a year, really, this year.
I take George Ezra's shotgun and blow my head off.
Exactly right. Exactly. Look, anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, 2019. Hopefully some better tracks in there. Can't be worse.
Oh, I'm sure
Cannot be worse.
Massive improvement.
Absolutely. All right. Watch the videos if you want on the playlist.
Yes.
Especially that Drake one where he does that fucking 2-minute shit at the window, which is just so shit that it needs to be seen. And yeah, I don't know what else. Ariana Grande kicking her legs up and down on a bed, I guess. So, cool. All right, see ya.
Okay, see ya.